to make the announcement.
Oh,
beginning of the meeting.
yeah, I know that Lowe's. That's gonna be welcome news.
Yeah.
Can I just post it over by the sign-in that one of the hearings is continued?
Is 37 James?
No,
Oh, I misunderstood.
Lowell.
It's not. You're okay.
No, Lois.
Lowell's continued. Should I just?
I think it's too late now.
Well, no, I mean, wouldn't people like to know before they?
Yeah, maybe we should start doing that. When Chuck tells me, I can post it before, because that was the first, usually the
Yeah, I'll
first.
just.
It's a good idea.
Good evening, everyone. I'm not, hi, I'm Anika Scanlon, the chair. We haven't started the meeting yet, and we won't until we have our fourth member show up. But I just want to let people know if 364 Lowell Street people are here, that has been, but at the request of the applicant, that was postponed to, I believe, July 20th.
No, July 9th, I thought.
Was it
July
July
9th is what I
9th?
saw, yeah.
That's what I saw.
So,
Let me, I can verify.
so they wanted it postponed, and so I just wanted to let you know before.
Yeah, they just notified us today, so.
By email. So
Yeah, well,
thanks
we
for
saw it
coming
on
in.
the
I didn't
agenda this
wanna
morning,
take
too.
any more of your time. Okay.
Yeah, July 9th. July 9th's the date.
Boy, after these next couple of meetings, you're gonna be doing a massive paper dump.
This is it. This is my last meeting. I can't come on the,
Oh, because you're not reappointed, right?
well, I can come, but I just can't physically. I've got a colleague
Oh.
retiring.
Oh, I did not know
40-year
that.
colleague.
I did not know. So here, you know what I'm doing? I'm keeping a list of these. Oh, this is your last meeting. Well, you caught me unprepared.
Are you coming Saturday? You're gonna be at
My wife fell and has a concussion.
what?
She hit a concrete bird bath.
Oh boy.
Daughter in the backyard while we were taking care of her. And,
When, recently?
well,
This week?
it'll be 2 weeks tomorrow, but the day after the last Conservation Commission meeting, I saw her and she went trotting off to do the cat duty. And
Okay.
the next thing I heard was a phone call from my grandson saying, guess what?
Guess what?
Almost on her way to the hospital. So she's doing better, but, well, you talked to her today. You could,
Yeah, she can talk.
she can talk. And she didn't get stitches, but
She can talk. Hello, everybody. I'm not going to start the meeting until we have a fourth member. We can't officially start until we have a quorum. Talk to the. We're looking for a position, so
Two actually, right?
we're
Two or
looking
three.
for two and two associates. So if you have any interest to get quagmired in this wonderful board, step up and talk to the town clerk. So we're just going to chat, and get our papers in order. So this is my. Isn't this funny? I got my Post-its all. Hello.
Hi, so I'm here to talk about a Eagle Scout project. I was told that I should come to you guys to present my project.
And this is a proposed project?
Yes.
Have you filled out any permitting paperwork for it,
No,
or is
I,
this just sort of a preliminary?
No, I went to the Trails Committee last night.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
they just told me to come tonight.
Okay,
Okay.
so we'll.
Okay.
we'll take
Well,
you under new business.
Yeah,
Old
we'll take you
business.
under
Old
old new,
business. Old new business.
old new business as soon
Grab
as
a
we
chair.
can. As soon as we can fit you in.
Should I
And your
go
name?
to the back? Brandon
Good
Lee.
evening, sir.
Sorry?
Hi.
Brandon Lee.
Brandon Lee.
Sorry I'm late.
Welcome.
Lost track of time
Hello.
It's easy to do.
and had to finish dinner. Thanks.
Do you want to
Okay.
announce 364 Lowell again as well?
Yes, I will.
I did call Chris Nolte and his wife on Plymouth Road, so
Okay.
Oh, okay,
they
yeah.
were gonna
Okay.
pass it on.
Yep, couple people were here,
Okay,
so.
where are we at? Sorry. I'm just gonna mumble to myself here. I don't think I
Hi.
need this. I really don't. Okay. Okay, what's that? Okay, all right, good evening. Having 4 members present, I'm going to call this meeting to order. The June 11th Conservation Commission meeting. To order. And I have 7:07, so we can't get to old new business yet. Let's get to
Yeah, we could. We could do old new business
for, well,
till 7:10.
I've got a couple of different agendas, please,
Oh.
please bear with me. I just want to announce right off the bat that the notice of intent for 364 Lowell Street is not gonna be discussed at this point. It's postponed, to the next meeting.
July 9th.
Thank you. So if anybody is here for 364 Lowell Street, we're not gonna discuss that matter. And at this point, I will, let's see, we've got what? Yeah, we can talk about Dustin Road. Actually with,
There's nothing to
is,
talk about there, is there?
I'm sorry?
Anything to talk about for Dustin?
Well, it was on, it's the first item under old new business.
Yeah.
It's,
I didn't think there was any issue there anymore, but since we did the site visit.
Right, right.
okay, is anybody here for Dustin Road? Okay, otherwise, okay, then we will, why don't we move on to the scout presentation? Mr. Lee, step forward. Just briefly, we'll give you a couple minutes to explain, talk about what you're doing.
It's not that much, to talk about, I guess.
Okay.
I went to the Trails Committee and the Forest Committee, and they approved me in March. But then I was told to come here as well to, get your approval as well.
Okay, what is your, I'm not familiar with the
So,
project, so what do you?
my project is to, make a 24-foot, length of boardwalk. It is in the town forest, near the compost area.
Do you have a
I have a
map
map, yes.
generally describing what?
So, the compost area is on the bottom left, and then this is like the first board.
Is this a
It's
trail
like-
now?
Yes.
Okay.
And then, I think there's a staircase that comes up here.
Oh, I know that area. It's a little trail that goes
Right,
over a
yeah.
ridge.
It's
Along
along
there.
the ridge, and then
Right.
it dips down about 200 yards, past the staircase.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's, the first dip is where I'll be, putting my boardwalk.
Okay.
And right now, there's only like 2 planks, or 2 or 3 pieces of plank, like, just lying in the mud there. So-
Okay, and is it, this is a wetland area that he's going to
Right.
be building a boardwalk in?
It's near a wetland.
Do you know the distance, or roughly?
No.
Okay.
The
Okay.
trail itself gets muddy, but
There's no running water.
it's not. Yeah,
It sounds like we need a little bit more information on this. If you can, what I'm gonna ask you to do is call our administrator, Chuck, and talk to him a little bit about the project, and I can give you, his phone number. I don't know if you're able to
Yeah, I could write it down.
sync with his. Would you like a seat, or so you can write on something solid? I don't wanna see papers go flying or anything. So speak to our administrator. in order for us to approve a project, we need some sort of paperwork submittal, some sort of permit vehicle or minor notice, minor project submittal to review, find out all the information we need, and ask all the questions of you that we need to ask
Okay.
for protection of the wetland. To see how close it is to the wetland, we're gonna need something submitted in paper.
Okay.
And Chuck can give you, advice as to how to go through that process.
He'll also take a quick look and see, for example, do you absolutely need to file? Because if it's far enough away from a wetland, you don't need to file, even though it's a damp area. It may be a wetland, it may not. The town forest has some areas that look like wetlands that haven't been declared so. There are other areas which everybody thinks are dryland and are in fact wetland just because that's what they are. So if you talk to Chuck, he will take a look at the GIS maps and be able to locate it, and he's in the office,
Tomorrow
yeah,
and, Monday,
and Monday.
but he's not in on Friday. All of town hall's closed on Friday.
And is he in after 1 or?
He's
Yes,
in
he's
after
usually
one.
in the afternoon.
Yeah, because he works for another town as well.
And this is a replacement of an existing boardwalk in effect, so it should fall under the aegis of the
Right.
Okay.
trails,
Okay.
order of conditions.
So should I come back here after talking to him?
He'll help you figure out whether you need to, and also if you need to, get the paperwork filled out so that you can actually get on the agenda. Okay?
Okay.
Great.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I thought you'd already been before us. I thought we'd done a site visit out there already, cause there's been so many Boy Scouts doing projects,
Yeah, we welcome it.
and it's
Yeah.
great.
It's a great benefit to the town
But
trail.
it was just one little,
Great
detail.
volunteer service, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right?
right, thanks.
Okay, thank you. It being past 7:10, I'm gonna go by my watch. I'm going to open the public hearing for 37 James Road. Before I do, I just wanna reiterate, in case anybody has walked in, that we are not going to discuss 364 Lowell Street tonight. That's going to be discussed at the July 9th meeting. So. Business. Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing for 37 James Road. The public hearing for 37 James Road, DP number 270-0629, is now opened and being conducted concurrently under the authority of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, the Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40 as amended, and the Reading General Bylaws, Section 5.7. The hearing will be conducted in the following manner. The applicant will present the proposal. The commission will receive reports and technical memorandums. The commission will address questions and comments to the applicant. The public will then be given the opportunity to ask questions of the applicant, which should be directed to the chair. Please give your name and address before your comments and or questions are presented. There is an attendance sheet at the shelf next to the door for all those present to sign. Please sign in. At this point, would the members of the Conservation Commission please introduce themselves, starting with
William Hecht.
Anika Scanlon, Chair.
Brian Sullivan, Vice Chair.
Will Finch,
Recording secretary.
Okay, who is present to represent the project? Would you please give your name and affiliation just for the record?
Absolutely. My name is Richard O'Connell.
Richard
I'm
O'Connell.
the president of J. O'Connell and Associates,
Okay.
a civil engineering firm located right down the street in Stonebrook, Massachusetts.
Would you mind speaking up a little?
Is there a microphone that I need to use, or?
Unfortunately, we don't have,
You'll just have to.
we had one at the last
I'll
meeting,
shout.
we don't have one
That-
here.
that's fine.
Just speak up.
I will speak up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So, I'm here representing, Mark and Jen Cuccarelli, of 37 James Road. for a notice of intent. And, just as a little preamble, I am also here with a group from the BSAA, that's the Boston Survivors Accessibility Association, which was set up through the Department of Public Safety after the marathon bombings, which we all know is a tragic event. And the department set this up. It's basically, they reached out to architects, engineers, attorneys, contractors, and set up this group to help the survivors move on to the next phase in their lives. As we all know, it'll never be the same. I do have some information on that if anybody would like to read it. I'm also joined tonight on the team, oh, by the way, I'm sorry, this is Mark.
How are you?
And this is Jen.
Hi, thanks for coming.
Marshall Dennis is also on the team, our wetland scientist, and Ellie Grasskemper is the attorney. And again, we were all brought together through this group and assigned projects. This was a project we were assigned to, and then working through the ADA, the American Disabilities Act, we try to get the homes properties up to where they need to be. This particular project involves the renovation of a single-family residence, 37 James Ave. Road. You heard that. 37 James Road. And there will be renovations to the building and the yard in order to, again, bring it up to ADA, make it compliant, and allow the family to move on. I'll quickly run through the plans. I'm hoping everybody can see this. Usually, I thought you guys did this all on disc and on camera, but
Yeah, if actually.
usually I flash them up on the wall and I
Well,
point them.
actually, can I ask you, would it be too much of an imposition to put it, there's a sort of a chalk rail up there? That way,
This one or
the
this?
cable television can capture it, I hope, and perhaps the public can get a cross view of it. You can feel free to move over if you don't have a good view of it.
Can everyone see this? The audience fine? I'm gonna be back here, so those of you in the back wanna move a little forward, we'll take a minute. I really, again, everything was submitted on this, but, what I have tonight is existing conditions plan and then the grading and drainage plan. So, James Road is in this vicinity. The existing dwelling is here, 2-car driveway, 2-car garage, patio off the back. Of importance tonight is the wetland boundary, which is shown in these dashed lines running through these properties. What's also shown on the existing condition plan is a 100-foot offset from that, or what's typically referred to as a 100-foot buffer line. So those are both shown on this plan. Of note, you can see it just catches almost the corner of the existing dwelling here, and then runs through the site, through the middle. Also what's shown on here is a hay bale line, which has been picked up and surveyed in the field. That is about 35 feet offset from the 25-foot zone of natural vegetation. That was put in, I think it was May 16th, the day we received an enforcement order. It was scheduled to go in before that, but we were asked to hold off till we got the enforcement order. So that is in place, so that's why it's shown on the existing condition plan, because it's in place now. The proposal, this is a grading and drainage plan. Again, the existing dwelling is in this location, the existing driveway coming off of James Road. And then you'll see there's an addition plan to the back of the house, west, on the west side. And then a new driveway, which will bring, which will go down to the back of the house, and then there will be garage under, and then a residential addition off of the first floor of the house. The contours as shown are proposed. There's about a 5% grade coming down from existing driveway to get to the back so that we can get down under. A turnaround, so that once you're in the garage, backing out of the garage, you can turn around, go back up the same way. The yard is then proposed to be graded out at approximately 7%, meeting existing grades near the property line. There is an existing retaining wall along the westerly property line in this area, and it will be graded just below that existing retaining wall so that any of the flow would come down and then swale down and continue back towards the wetlands. Working with those grades, and then we have a top of slope elevation, which runs around the yard in that vicinity, and then we grade down to a 25-foot offset of the zone of natural vegetation from the wetland line. So that's pretty much it. We've shown a detail on the plan. Slopes greater than 3:1 require an engineered stamp plan, so we've shown a detail of how that will be built. I also have a specification with me tonight. If anybody wants that, I can submit it. We've done a calculation on the additional runoff for the impervious up to a 100-year storm. Basically, the way we've graded this will be handled within the grass area. Low impact development, BMP, it actually infiltrates within that grassed area because of the slope. And then a berm that we are, erosion mound at the very end, or it's a berm, so it's gonna hold it back so it won't be just running down, going over the side slope. I believe that's pretty much it. Again, we have the wetland scientist, we have an attorney, we have myself, and we're here for any questions.
Okay.
Time is of the essence. We need to get these foundations in the ground. So what we're hoping for tonight is sort of a good deliberation back and forth and try to get this order of conditions done as quickly as possible.
I understand.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to say? Okay. Any initial comments or questions?
Yeah, one question. I noticed that your stabilized toe goes into the currently wooded area. Is the intention to leave the wooded area as it is and just put the stabilized toe around the trees? Is that?
We will work through, as we did with the hay bales, we will
Okay.
work through that wooded area, save as much as the low shrubbery as we can, and
Okay.
tow that in. Yes.
Do you have a follow-up question? Okay, any other questions or comments before I jump in with mine?
No, go ahead.
I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
Do you have any particular basis for the grading in the backyard, for the slope?
We've done some research on wheelchairs and grass, and that's sort of where we came up with this 7%. Trying to think of what that is on a slope. It's about, what, 22:1 or something like that. So it's not a 2:1 slope, it's not a 3:1 slope. It's about right for a wheelchair to be able to maneuver around without tipping. That is the basis for it, yes.
Okay, good. I just wanted to be sure it wasn't to meet the other side.
No.
There's a
No.
definite need
If-
for that, I see, so.
We were actually looking to get it less than that, but in order to meet the other side and to keep the drainage going where we wanted it to go, this was sort of where we ended up with as a balance. So it's kind of like the maximum or minimum, depending on how
Sure,
you want to look
sure.
at it.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other follow-up? All right, I wanted to just discuss for a moment the initial violation, in this area, was tree cutting within 100 feet of, was unauthorized, tree cutting within 100 feet of the wetlands, which does require that work, which has a potential to disrupt the resource area, requires approval, sign off by the commission before it happens. Do you have any plan to address that at this point? I wasn't so sure we've addressed that initial taking of trees.
Sure.
Within the buffer zone.
I can do that. I can address that.
Okay.
There is a violation. It did happen. It did not happen anywhere close to the zone of natural vegetation or within 45 feet of that. It is within the buffer area. Agreed. When Mark and Jen decided, they found out this house came up, desirable neighborhood, it's word of mouth, they found out it came up. They went down and looked at it, and immediately they said, well, we need to do something with the backyard because the backyard's not gonna work for our conditions. They went to town hall, they talked to personnel at town hall. They were directed to Chuck. Chuck came out and met with Mark and said, you don't have any wetlands, it's
So-
not on a map, we don't have any problem with you, you can go do whatever you want in your backyard.
So you're saying that Chuck went to the project site?
This was at town hall.
Oh, okay,
This
okay.
was at town
I
hall.
wasn't sure.
Based on that information, as the homeowner,
Yeah,
Mark and Jen went and purchased the house.
It was prior to purchasing the house.
Yeah.
'Cause I wouldn't
Purchasing
purchase
the
that.
house,
Yeah.
they did that.
Because your map showed there is no wetlands.
The
Okay.
town GIS map.
Okay, it is not, yeah, it is not on the map, there's no question about that. So, they purchased the house, and then Mark got a tree cutter involved, and the tree cutter came down and said, I need to make sure this is correct. So Mark made a follow-up call to the town hall, actually he went down,
No, I called.
he called.
I spoke to the
And they
secretary,
said,
put me on hold.
nope, you've already been given the correct information, you don't have an issue. That's how the tree clearing happened, okay? Wrong, but that's how it happened, best
Right.
information available at the time. How are we addressing it? We're addressing it by making the slopes better on the site than they were, because we actually have 1.5, 1-to-1, and 2-to-1 in these areas, and we're gonna make that better. So addressing it is, hey, some trees got cut down. They weren't wetland plants, they weren't wetland species. They are, there is some replanting proposed, most of it outside of the 100-foot buffer. But that's the address, that's how we're addressing it.
Okay. According to my reading of our regulations, the performance standards calls for vegetation only within 35 feet. That additional distance between 25 and 35 feet is supposed to be a zone that protects the root growth that happens up to 25 feet. And that 35 feet is, by our standards, is to protect that. So I see that the rock slope goes literally like to within a foot of the 25-foot setback.
Yes,
And
yes.
my question is there any alternative that can be proposed to push away from the 25-foot and get it closer to that 35-foot?
Okay. We have a little different interpretation of the bylaw, I think, because our interpretation of the bylaw is the 25-foot is the zone of natural vegetation.
Right, but
Then the commission could extend it more if they wanted to.
No,
That's the way I read it.
no, the reading is, and our practice has historically been, that there's a 10-foot additional no structure zone.
That's correct.
And the question that's up for grabs, I think, is that rock toe a structure or not?
Not structural.
Well,
Not
But
structural.
but
It's a
could
rock.
it potentially
It's a naturally
impede-
no, I understand,
occurring.
it's not a naturally occurring.
But it's an
It's a rock.
It's a built structure, it's an engineered structure.
engineered structure.
Yeah, I mean,
I can argue that both ways, but you have your opinion.
No, no, but the issues come up before, okay? And it's simply a question of what is, it's very clear it's not a foundation, it's very clear it's not a building, it's very clear it's not an outbuilding. And it is an engineered structure. I think,
Well, the slope is engineered. Whether some rocks piled up as a structure or not, I think if you go to the building code and all of that, it's not a structure, but, the rock slope is definitely for stabilization
Right.
of the embankment. The embankment is not a structure. It is all natural materials. It's gonna be seeded with wildflower mix to stabilize it with a biodegradable, mesh to take care of it until that comes in. So, I mean, I think we can debate this a lot. It's not a structure. It's naturally occurring everywhere in everybody's yard.
except that realistically, it's not occurring here, it's a built structure. I happen to believe, okay, based on our precedents, that, this would not be an issue in the 35-foot zone, although other people may have other opinions.
Okay.
Simply because we have had a couple of other retaining walls which have been within the 35-foot.
Well,
Great.
I think my question is, it's right, it's literally like, according to the plan, it's touching
We are
practically
taking full advantage.
the 25-foot zone, and, is there any alternative to the area between, the 100-foot buffer and, that 25-foot line? It just seems that wall appears to be put there just because that 25-foot zone is there. So let's put the wall right on it.
That's a perfect
without additional
That's a perfect read.
setback.
We are
So-
taking full advantage of what is allowed, what is spelled out, in order to maximize the use of the backyard.
Right.
Is there an alternative? Yes, cut it back. Less of a backyard. Sure, but we're trying to take, full advantage of what's allowed. We're not asking for a waiver. We're not asking to do anything that isn't allowed. We're just saying, yep, that's the line. We're gonna work with it. Now, I understand that you probably don't wanna set precedents or something like that for other projects that may come along. Please understand that this entire project falls within the American Disabilities Act. And the American Disabilities Act, the federal regulation, and Ally will correct me if I say this incorrectly, but per the federal regulation, local municipalities must reasonably accommodate by modifying their policies and regulations to comply with the American Disabilities Act. So if you're worried about it setting a precedent, the precedent's at the federal level, it's not at the local level.
Look, I welcome this resident to town. I am all for, making this a livable place, but there's a variety of engineering designs that can do what our regulations are calling for and meet the American with Disabilities Act. So forgive me if I didn't say that correctly. So, this is one scenario that you've come up with.
Correct.
I'm wondering if, other designs can be proposed that, for example, a wall. I'm not an engineer. I'm not gonna engineer it on behalf of the applicant. But I'm just asking the question.
Give me the alternative. Do you want like a wall set back 5 feet or 10 feet from where we're starting and then come up higher? Is that what's being asked?
My mandate is to protect the resource area.
Sure.
I understand the confusion that has happened up to this point, and I'm sorry for it, and we are constantly striving to eliminate mapping confusion because it seems to, as a matter of fact, I was talking to our GIS person today and saying, tell me the accuracy of this because we are getting lots and lots of problems with wild inaccuracies in data layers and people think there's wetlands there are not there, but they are there because we haven't had somebody go out and investigate that backyard.
Sure.
You know,
And wetlands lines aren't static. They move all the time.
And wetlands lines move, you know,
So-
so we're working with, you know, and she said she's had long discussions with putting disclaimers in about the accuracy of that data. We know from our experience that it's wildly inaccurate in some situations, in some parts of town, certain data layers are. So, you know, that being said, a wetland scientist went out, there is a wetlands that has been flagged.
Yes.
Um,
That was at our request, because when we got involved, it
Yeah.
was in January,
February 9th.
February of this year. And when we got together with the Department of Public Safety and the VSAA group, there's architects and other people involved, contractors, and I went through the backyard and I said, Mark, I think you got some wetlands down back there. And he gave me the story that said, no, I went down town hall, I
Right,
did this, I
they
did this.
said this.
Okay, I
My,
said,
my realtor took the concerns at the beginning, and that's why before I purchased the house, I came down and talked to Chuck.
Yeah.
If there was any thing said about, oh, there's confusion with some of it, to me, it was pretty cut and dry when because I talked to the secretary, she went out, she talked to him, came back and said, but listen, if I buy this house, I need to cut down trees, fill the yard, so I can play with my son. And she
Yeah.
walked back, brought him out, and he came out and said, Mark, no, we're all, I looked at the maps, you're all set, you're good to go. He said, we won't bother you. And he say, she say, who said what?
Yeah,
I
no,
know that,
right,
but
no,
I'm
I
gonna tell you,
hear
we were standing there, I was on.
and regardless of all that, when we saw it, we said, we need a
There's
wetland
wetlands,
plan.
we gotta flag it, yeah,
Marshall was on
Yeah.
the team, so
Yeah.
that's why we got it done, and that's how we got this all straightened out.
yeah.
Now, given all
Let's-
of
Can I
that,
ask,
the
Can I-
the disruption in the tree cutting is 35 feet or better from the wetland. There has been no disturbance within 35 to 45 feet of the wetland.
is that,
I have a photo from today.
oh, I see, okay, I
mean,
follow,
I think it points it out pretty
I
well.
follow,
When we did our first site
You
visit.
guys been out
I
there a few
follow,
times.
yeah.
This is, that's the
Oh,
wetland line.
okay.
And you can see to the right of
Yeah.
it, there is no disturbance there. I got a couple of these, I'll knock you over too.
Yeah, we were there.
So
We saw.
the disturbance has still been 35 to 40 to 50 feet away from the wetland itself. So I just don't want people to think that there was disturbance down in this area and now we're trying to fix it. It didn't have, we're not, we're out of it. It's pretty clear on that. And so this plan will take care of the rest of it. Now, other alternatives, there are other alternatives. The alternatives, if you wanna suggest some, move it back and build a retaining wall? Is that now a structure? Do we now get into that kind of topic again? I mean, this is just a rock stabilized slope benched in. It's pretty easy to build and it maximizes the yard. So yeah, are there alternatives? Sure.
Something I noticed on the last site visit that,
Madam Chair, may I just chime in briefly?
yes, go ahead.
Ellie
Just
Camper, attorney from North
Thank
Bureau.
you.
Yeah. I'd just like to draw your attention to your bylaws, section 3D5, where it says that notwithstanding the standards of the preceding paragraph, the commission may grant a reduced setback distance of structures from the the zone of natural vegetation. And it goes on and on to say as long as there's an appropriate permanent fence or wall, if you wanna call the rocks a wall, that's fine, of sufficient height shall be provided and maintained. So that's even allowing you to do a reduced setback, this is at the line. So there is guidelines for this to be approved as proposed.
There is, if sufficient reasoning is given, if we think it ensures the protection of the resource area. You know, there's a lot of discretion there, so, thank you.
Thanks, Al.
Sure.
Am I good?
Yeah, well, I have a couple more.
Okay.
Couple more questions, comments. So I was at a site visit there, on Monday. Monday. It's been a long week.
This Monday?
This past Monday evening. Yeah, we go on site visits on Monday evening before the,
Did we,
I didn't know about.
I'm sorry, we didn't, I didn't know about that, but okay.
okay, it is our typical practice, and, I apologize if this catches you by surprise. But we did go on a site visit there, and I was upslope of the 100-foot wetland buffer line, near the fill that's been brought in at this point and
Yes.
that is piled up there.
Yes.
And I did notice the presence of asphalt, asphalt, brick, glass, and other debris in that fill. And just from there's two things I'm gonna say about this. One has to do with wetlands, one does not. So I'll go for the wetland side first. If there's any, any hazardous materials in that fill, it could erode down slope and affect the resource area.
We have.
That's the wetland side.
Hang on.
On the non-wetland side, just as a comment, I've worked in solid waste, on solid waste projects, and I believe, according to the DEP, that would be considered illicit fill. Not, asphalt, brick, concrete materials not handled according to their reuse policy. So, just gonna throw those two out there.
And it does depend on the amount of each of those materials. We did have the materials tested. We have reports on that. We can provide that to you.
Okay.
In fact, I'll get them now and hand them out.
Well, if
While
you
you're
could
going
just
to the
provide
next
it,
question.
This
Just-
is only one.
I tell you what, if you could just do me the favor of just providing it to our administrator so that he can make it kind of part of the
We can do that.
record and then transmit it to us
It
as.
was done by ESS Laboratories, and it's dated, what's the date? June 10th. So we'll submit that, we'll get that to Chuck, and he can put that in the record.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm done with questions. Are there any other questions from the board? No?
I would just sort of echo what the chair was stating, that when we need to issue a waiver for, getting closer to the wetlands line, we do. In this case, I don't think it doesn't, it's not demonstrated that it's necessary, and I would agree that I would like to see the wall move back to the 35-foot line. I know that's gonna mean a somewhat smaller backyard, but I think it's a reasonable compromise. It's gonna be really hard to work down in that area and not get into the 25-foot zone, putting the rocks in place. That 10-foot line serves a couple, mostly it gives, that extra 10 feet gives room for the machines to work safely in the area, either near a building or near a wetlands.
I won't disagree with you. It's not a waiver, I would like to point that out. We're there. This isn't a waiver, we're not asking for a waiver. This is what your bylaw states.
Right, you're asking for us to act with discretion that we have the power to do, and I guess what I've heard.
Well, your discretion is to go less than that. Is
No,
what it
our
says in the
discretion,
bylaw.
we have historically, not allowed structures within the 35-foot zone without substantial discussion. We always ask for an alternative analysis. One of the alternatives is, there could be a large retaining wall, and if there's an engineered retaining wall, much of the backyard could remain level. There would be no 3-to-1, no 2-to-1 slopes. I mean, that's one alternative.
So would you go with a rock engineered retaining wall pushed back 5 or 10 feet and a steeper slope, or, I'm just trying to get the alternatives.
Well, what I'm saying is that one alternative, and I'm not gonna engineer your alternatives, one alternative is a structural retaining wall,
Yes.
however many feet high it needs to be at the 35-foot zone.
Very
Okay.
costly.
And it is very costly, okay? But what I'm suggesting is that that would provide a flat backyard right to the retaining wall.
I'll just sell
And
my
we'll-
house and
and-
find out though, like.
It costs.
Right.
And it is a structure. I would argue that that could be a structure if you're building a retaining wall.
Right, and if it's at 35
What I would
feet.
say is we're doing it naturally. We're doing it naturally with natural materials and the whole bit. And to me, I have to look out for the protection of the wetlands as well. I believe that is a better bio solution, is to do it naturally and let it fill in and let it grow back to the way it used to be. Now, please understand, some of these existing slopes are a 1-to-1 and, you know, so this is a better plan than what's existing out there. That in itself, to make a better plan, that in itself is justification to say, yeah, okay, it's better.
I'd rather not have my son go off a retaining wall. I'd rather him go down a slope. I have a 6-year-old boy. We're planning on having another child. So, I mean, I understand you saying a retaining wall. I'd love a retaining wall and have a nice flat yard instead of having a slope off. I mean, I'm gonna be chasing balls down there probably. And I think the flowers of the natural, he was proposing with the seed of the wetland vegetation seeding and flowering that he's talking about. I think I'd rather see that than just a drop off for my son, because now you're not just talking a retaining wall, now I'm talking a retaining fence as well for my son.
Well, I think another, I understand.
I mean,
that-
fencing, I don't know if you've ever priced fencing
Yeah,
either.
yeah.
I mean, everything in my life costs 10 times now.
Right, right,
But, you know,
yeah,
$5,500 for a wheelchair,
right,
that
right,
doesn't move unless I push it.
right. You know, there was a mention of one wall. You know, I've seen terraced walls. I've seen, you know, again, I'm gonna reiterate what Mr. Heck said. I am not an engineer. You can put on some creative thinking and come up with some creative, engineers are really good at coming up with creative solutions to really challenging problems. You know, so, I'm just gonna throw that out there as a suggestion. And if there's no more questions or comments, I'm gonna open it to the public.
I would like just one house cleaning item I forgot to mention. We did request through the Department of Public Safety, a waiver of the fee. And so if you guys could deliberate on that tonight as well, it would be appreciated.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody wanna start the discussion about the fee? The waiver of the fee?
When we open it to the public first, talk about the fee, so the fee is really our matter.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. At this point, then I'll take questions from the public. Sir, would you please give your name?
Yes, hi, Chris Latham, if I can approach the board. I represent Mr. McCord. You've been out there, you've basically seen.
Want to speak up, please?
Yes, sir. You've been out there, you've seen the current condition of the property. This
I
is.
tell you what, why don't
Yeah.
you hold on
Okay.
until we've all got,
They're not all originals, I mean, they're
okay,
separate
thank you.
ones.
Oh, sorry, sorry.
They're different ones.
And,
So, Mr. McCourt lives at 46 South Street. And here's also, if I can submit these to the board, here's
okay,
satellite imagery of 2008, 2011, and 2012
okay.
that show basically the vegetation that was there prior to the trees being cut down. We
Okay, so
appreciate
just for the public's knowledge, we've got, pictures of, pool and, sorry, hope I'm probably not destroying, this picture's backyard,
As well as the satellite photographs of the property.
yeah.
Does it have the one that was running out of the hose from its pump down to the wetland? Oh, sorry.
Not,
No, it doesn't.
not here.
Doesn't have that one?
Not
No,
here.
sorry.
Not
So,
here, and
the
two
gist of
satellite.
it is the pictures basically show the existing condition.
Might I ask, is there an extra copy?
No.
You can look at this. The aerials, or,
Well, whatever was handed in.
So what it basically shows is the existing condition, what the condition was prior, both in terms of aerial and in terms of the photograph that showed all the vegetation that was within the 100 feet. Okay? We appreciate the applicant's situation, but we believe there has to be some mitigation is due. Necessary, in regards to the extent of the existing and the proposed alterations and the resulting impact, as well as the possible impact that they're gonna have on my client at 46 South Street. We conservatively estimate that there were well over 20 trees, each being at least 30 years old, and with many over 50 feet in height, that were removed from within the 100-foot wetland buffer zone. The canopy of those trees removed from the 100-foot buffer zone extended well beyond the 100-foot buffer zone. Likewise, the canopies of trees outside the 100-foot buffer zone extended into the 100-foot buffer zone, and they were removed. They were aesthetically pleasing due to the large expanse of the canopy of those removed trees within the 100-foot feet of the buffer zone, in conjunction with the way the topography drops off. My client at 46 South Street basically was provided with shade and privacy, and the removed trees also block light and noise and that benefited my client's property. The understory was likewise removed within the 100-foot wetland buffer zone, and such understory also had benefits to my client's property. Those trees and understory were removed in violation of my client's right to notice and due process. We understand that there may have been a mistake, but nonetheless there has to be recognition of the fact that this was done and my client's rights were violated. All right? We understand that he proposes also to have some fill come in and to have regrading, and we have some concerns as to that regrading because obviously it's going to slope towards my client's property. Okay? We have some serious and legitimate good faith concerns in regards to drainage, and we thus request out of equity that we have more time to review what's being discussed, and likewise we request that the applicant please give us a call so we can discuss this further. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Has there been any communication between yourself
been
and the
efforts.
applicant to this point?
There's been efforts to communicate.
No, I missed the end of that because it was pretty tough.
Sorry.
I have that hearing.
Sorry.
So what was the end said?
Has there been
I left the
communication?
business guy, the tree guy went to him and spoke to him first. He said he'll come involved if he has to, because he went to his house and spoke to him about cutting the trees down. And he had nothing to say about it. So the guy said, he said he seemed very happy about cutting the trees down. He has a pool, which I think could imagine you would enjoy the sun to heat up your pool, but he has a heated pool, so.
I wanna,
I think I can help.
There was
I
14 trees. I have the guy what I paid for.
Mike and Mark have been talking. There's
Okay.
ongoing communication.
Okay.
I've got a
He
string of
called me on-
emails.
called me
I've got a
Wednesday.
string of emails between the engineers and the attorneys and everybody else. There is communication going back and forth. What's being talked about here is something that I believe is outside of this is not site plan review. You can cut down trees, you don't need to put up a fence, all of that type of stuff. These are the things that are being asked. Mark and Mike are talking about it. I believe that at some point in time they will come to a gentleman's agreement, but it's really not into the purview of the Conservation Commission of whether headlights now shine into my yard and they didn't before.
I understand.
Okay, so there is ongoing dialogue, and we hope that it will continue.
The dialogue on Wednesday was, if you just do these simple things, yeah, this and that, you pay for this and that to be put up, we won't stand up and object on the 11th. We want your proceedings to go fine, you get your approval, and that was the conversation that me and you had 2 days after my knee surgery. He say, she say.
We can, this board only has authority to, it's true, to make decisions on wetland matters. I fully encourage people to come to some compromised understanding, if at all possible, or not, it's your decision. Any other questions or comments from the public? Yes?
I want to speak.
Could you please give your name and address for the...
Okay. I'm Patty Lejour, and I live at 43 James,
Could you just point out where that is?
right
Okay,
next
thank you.
door.
Okay.
We've lived there almost 28 years, and we didn't have wetlands until the previous there was just a little dampness maybe in the spring, and some daylilies came up, until the previous owners of this house, 37, filled in here, and the person who lives here cut down all those trees. And then this year, for the first time, is when we had this wetness. So it
you
seemed
haven't observed wetness back in that area?
a little dampness in the spring in the corner of our property, some daylilies would come up, but that was, and that's how we knew where the property line was. But this year, because these people had previously filled in
Year
here,
before.
the year before,
Sorry.
yeah, sorry, had filled in here.
They
and-
cut down trees too.
And they cut a few trees, but a lot of trees were cut down by this person on South Street. And now we have wetlands. That's all I want to say.
Will, go
I
ahead.
just have a question, on timing. When were the trees cut? Does anybody-
January 31st.
July?
January
January of this year.
of this year.
And the fill was also brought in after that, or?
Yes, after that. Yep.
Okay, right, thank
Like I said, from
But it
the
wasn't
fact that I was
filled, it was just
okayed.
piled up.
you. Right.
Any other questions from the public at this point?
Was it April? When I was in Florida, after the wedding. Yeah, it was after my wedding in April. The fill was brought in.
Any other questions from the public at this point regarding the question? I had a question, it was just a follow-up. The wetlands were flagged when?
April 9th.
The wetlands were flagged April 9th? There was a call about it in February, is I think what you mentioned.
Well, when I
February
phone called,
9th? Is there, am I missing something in the timeline? I just wanna understand it.
The call to, Mark went and visited with the town hall in
2013.
Okay, okay.
That's when I visited. I
Yeah.
called the town
Yeah.
in January, roughly January, right around the 17th, because that's where I got my bid
Okay.
from my tree guy.
late October.
That was the first one,
Yep.
the first visit to the
Oh, I
town
see.
hall. Then the phone call was made in January, where I spoke with the secretary who answered the phone, who put me on hold and talked to Chuck, and then
Gotcha.
came back and told me.
Gotcha.
He remembers you, yep. I mean, how hard is it to not to remember a kid with one leg standing in your office?
Right. So just to get back to, the wetlands were flagged April 9th, and the trees were cut in January.
Trees were cleared,
Because they were brought in on February.
January
that's why.
31st. The tree clearing was done on January 31st.
Okay. And then the wetlands were flagged after that,
The wetlands were flagged on,
April 9th.
April
which is,
9th.
as it says in the
And
notes.
that's because they
and
came in on
surveyed
February
on the
and
same day.
realized.
Okay.
Surveyed and added on to the plan on the same day. I do have a timeline. I don't know if it's any benefit to you.
Yeah, I think I've seen it, I think I've seen it, but I've got it.
Right?
I just wanted to
It would be
understand
hard
that.
for you to see it because they just did it. Before it
Well,
came
then it
to
must
the
be
meeting.
another project,
They
that
came
you
to the
have a
meeting.
timeline on.
But it's,
Okay,
is the
thank
one
you.
that we have.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, 'cause,
I know.
Any other questions or comments from anyone about this matter? Sir, please just state your
Sure.
name and address for the
It's just a
record.
comment. I'm Mike Rubin. I also live at 43 James Road, right next door.
Okay,
I understand the role of the Conservation Commission, and so the comment I'm about to make perhaps isn't relevant to your deliberations. But as a neighbor, I have no problem with what the plans are for this property, regardless of whether or not I would have liked to see those trees stay up, because that's his property. And if he wants to take his trees down, he can, and I can take the trees down on my property if I want to. I just want to say that it appears to me, as an outside observer and as a neighbor, that Mark and Jen and their engineer have done everything that they could possibly do to try to make sure that there is no negative impact from this plan. I think they've gone beyond what most neighbors would do to try to make sure they're not doing anything that would negatively impact us or our property. So I just want to say that I'm in support of their plans. That's not from an environmental evaluation, but simply as a neighbor.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for your input.
I'm sorry.
Any other questions or comments?
Your trees.
You didn't cut down all.
Okay,
I love the beautiful trees.
at this point, I'll entertain a motion to continue the hearing. There is no, or is there a motion on the floor?
Madam Chairman, would really like to get an order of conditions underway, so a continuation, hopefully that by the next hearing, the order could be written, or are we going to come back and deliberate again?
I do not know, at this point whether it's possible for an order of conditions to be prepared by the next meeting.
Is there something here that we
I would
could,
have to talk to the administrator about that.
It's not here.
And
is there something we could help to make that happen? Time is of the essence. We have, again, this is a pretty big group, the BSA is, but we have contractors ready to go. The building inspector obviously won't give us the okay to start building foundations. We can work on the other side of the yard. We're hitting construction season. Construction people are gonna get light. We're trying to get this, we got the growing season. If there's anything that we can help with to do the order of conditions at the next hearing, we're available. We supplied Word documents. We'll do whatever we need.
Will, did you have a response to that, or did you promise that?
Yeah, well, I believe we have a request from Attorney Latham for time to review the plans a little more thoroughly. If that would, I think that would help the situation, just in
Mike,
terms
I
of.
talked to your engineer this morning, and he was on board with what we were talking about, which was the plans are fine, and you and Mark should work out your handshake deal about hedges and headlights out of the conservation jurisdiction. This is not a conservation issue.
That's not true.
Okay,
Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry.
okay, I had that conversation.
I'm $3,000 a month in my apartment. I've owned the house for 6 months and I still don't
I
live
mean,
there.
really, we have like a little boy who wants to go to school in a neighborhood, and this is ridiculous.
No, it'll
Like,
be.
it really is.
Thanks. I appreciate your time. That's my plan. And we're gonna go to wherever state, whatever we have to. It'll take 6 years. I'll bring every Fox Channel News in here and deal with all this. Because
We don't-
what
we
he's
don't
doing
need
is
to do
right.
that.
He's
This
doing
doesn't
right.
happen.
I'm sick of this. This guy behind me wants to go skinny dipping with his girlfriend, words straight from his mouth. I know we should be deliberative of
It's
that.
okay, Mark.
That's-
so rude.
Mark,
That's what he said to me, and you're harassing me.
That's
Don't
not
harass
true.
me.
That's not true.
It's okay. So
Dave
let's-
was in the room with me.
Okay,
Thank you.
excuse me, let's keep the discussion respectful.
After everything I've been through, you're gonna lie?
Thank you, Mark.
I'm not
Mark.
here to make believe it or not, it's not our agenda to make everybody's life miserable or to encourage people's
Do
misery.
what's right, and that drawing right there looks like it.
The point is, we're here to enforce the
Sorry,
wetlands
Steve.
regulations to the best of our ability. We would like to see, well, I myself, and I don't know if, if other commission members want to decide otherwise, I myself would like to see some alternative considered, at least a response to that request. And I don't think that's asking too much in this situation. There is a lot of yard back there, and there's a lot of engineering choices that could be made. So that's what I'm asking for, and so it's up to the rest of the commission and how they vote, and to make up their own minds about continuing this motion or voting on it as it stands right now. But the bottom line is, our administrator has not prepared an order of conditions for this, for our
Understood.
signature tonight.
Understood.
And unfortunately, that's the situation.
Couldn't you close the hearing anyway?
If there's no additional information that you propose to provide to us, and I'm gonna leave that to you. If you want us to vote on this as is at the next hearing, and there's no,
In order to answer that, I would need a straw vote tonight.
I'm not gonna entertain a straw vote.
So, the next hearing is in 2 weeks?
Right, the next hearing.
And what you're asking is, could we come back with a different section
I'm
a
asking
little
you to
alternative
consider
action, a little
our
alternative,
feedback.
an alternative to this
And-
section here of how this is built, and can we move that back a little bit?
Right.
So if we can get that information to you within a few days, then everything could be wrapped up at the next hearing?
Certainly
I
would give us
like
the
to think
alternative to
so.
consider that. In other words, I think the concern the commission has is this, and that is that although this is an alternative, and you've made the case that it's a natural alternative, it does involve slopes and a rock berm, we'd like to see at least one other alternative so we can make a decision as to whether this alternative is the best alternative. I recognize that there's a time press. I also recognize that there is a substantial judgment call on your part as engineers that this is the best solution. I'm not knocking that. I think the question on alternatives analysis would help us reach the right conclusion, whatever the right conclusion is, okay? We certainly don't want to have the homeowner be restricted any more than he already is by his situation, okay? The difficulty we have, I think, is our mandate is to protect the wetlands. You put forth one likely solution. We'd like to see an alternative. If you know, that would give us the opportunity, if we have it in the next couple of days, to make a decision based on which of the alternatives, in our judgment, is the better one.
That is not an unreasonable request.
And if you stand by this design as the design, then, additional reasoning, you know, to convince us that this is not going to impede wetland function or habitat function needs to be provided. Will?
Yeah, just first I'd like to apologize for not coordinating the site visit with you folks. Normally Chuck Tironi calls and let you know when we're gonna be there. And usually that works just fine. We did speak with a contractor that was working inside the house before we entered the property. But obviously,
Apology accepted, it happens.
and then the other thing that came up on the site visit was the problem of putting a lot of fill over trees that are in that 25-foot zone, and there was a fear that it might kill some of the trees that were downslope. So that's one of the reasons we do try and stay out of that extra 10-foot zone.
Understood, and we could probably maybe provide you with some paragraphs and justification of all of that.
Okay.
Actually, the spec of the slope helps take care of that, but it is not an unreasonable request to ask for another alternative. We will get it to you as quickly as possible.
Sometimes the administrator misses these things because he's extremely busy. We've been extremely busy. He's part-time, so that puts a lot of strain on him as well, so.
No, it's understood. I don't know, we work with Chuck a lot. He knows, email, drop us a line. We know, he knows where we are.
It could have
but-
been.
He's got
And
good,
there
good
was-
time management, but.
There were two site meetings that happened. One was the result of an enforcement order, and
Right.
the second one happened last week. We didn't hear about either of them. Either of them, so.
Okay.
But apology accepted, it happens.
Okay.
I'll call Chuck and beat on him tomorrow.
Okay, motion to continue?
You made one
Oh,
earlier.
okay,
I'll second the motion to continue,
okay.
presuming we'll have some alternatives.
Can I say something? Hey,
Sure. Just state your name and address.
Antonio D'Alessandro, 40 South Street, Reading.
Okay.
Is this all about the wetland?
Yes.
It's about the wetland and 100 feet from the wetland, which is what we call the resource area.
What if we were in China? How are we going to deal with this thing?
Very differently.
Huh? Very differently.
Right.
There is ways to keep what we got the way it is by doing something moderation. With stones and things, 2,000 years ago, people got a hill, dig a hole, and what goes in there, get the roof, put it back.
Yeah, no, I understand. What ties our hands are the state regulations and our town bylaws and our town regulations. So we've got
So we cannot
rules in
alter
writing
anything.
that we are trying our best to enforce and stand by. And, yeah, I hear you. Thanks for your input. Okay.
What's the definition of a wetlands?
Boy.
All right, does anybody have it off the tip of their tongue? You know, it's an area that's wet enough to support wetland plants, and it has to be a certain size in town to be considered a wetland, because there's a minimum size capacity. It has to have it has to have a certain type of soil to support predominance of water, you know, so it can't be draining soils, or if it is draining soil, you know, there's many definitions, many aspects to the definition.
It can
of what
be a
wetland
stream,
is.
it can be a pond, it can be a swamp, it can be a bog, it can be a former cranberry bog, and if you notice that the town seal of Reading, which is on has a large water wheel. The town is the headwaters of Three Rivers, and it had innumerable bogs, swamps. Birch Meadow School, meadow is a Yankee term for swamp. The Birch Meadow school system, the high school is built in a swamp. In fact, one of the indicators of swamps in the town of Reading is a public high school or public grammar school. Look for every public grammar school, you'll find a swamp nearby.
Yeah, every landfill.
Is there ever a case where an area is identified as a wetlands at a particular time of year, but when looked at another time of year, will we not be considered a wetlands?
No, the point is, if it's wet at any time of the year, and it's of a certain size, it's a wetland. The issue really is, what is the size, okay? Is there a stream in it? Is the stream perennial or intermittent? If it's a perennial stream, which means it flows all year long, how big is the watershed that it drains? So there are lots of interesting nuances to the definition of a wetland, but fundamentally, it's a place, as Anika said, that would support wetland vegetation and typically would support wetland species, not just plants.
It has
This-
more to do with the soils.
Okay, so this particular area here, by what criteria was it determined to be wetlands?
The wetland scientist went out and flagged it, okay?
Shed light on
Based
it.
on soils, hydrology, and vegetation, it met the criteria.
Okay.
And there were, in this particular case, as is typical in all delineations, data plots were established in the upland side of the flag and the wetland side of the flag, and data forms were completed, which demonstrated that on the wetland side of the line, it met the characteristics of wetlands
the upland
in terms of vegetation soils. And on hydrology, and on the upland side, it didn't. And hence, that's the flag went in the middle.
And it is true that wetlands appear and disappear, okay,
And
over time.
Yeah.
There are interesting things called interchanges from 128 to I-93, which were supposed to be well-maintained drainage sites. Since the DOT didn't maintain those drainage sites, they are now wetlands.
Works both ways, though.
Right.
If there was a wetland and it's no longer there, it no longer has protection.
Which is one of the reasons that one of the things that's done is to flag the wetland, and it's as of a given date, okay? You come back 30 years later, it may not be a wetland, okay? You can come back to an area that appeared not to be a wetland today because of a change, for example, because somebody overdeveloped another area, it suddenly becomes a wetland.
Okay.
Which points to a good question. You did a site walk. The wetland flagging was acceptable?
Yes. I don't think there was any question about the wetland flags. They're well cited, and it's a pretty straightforward slope issue from the elevations.
Yeah.
I mean, not one you could argue the hydrology about at all.
okay, any last questions?
Just one, was there any standing water on the site when you were there last?
I did
I don't
not
think
see
so.
any.
I don't think so.
No, there was
That wasn't today.
3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago when we were at South Street,
Okay.
there was standing water.
And your last visit was this past Monday?
Was this past Monday? And I do want to mention, you know, that erosion control fencing, I didn't see any erosion whatsoever.
I walked it today.
That slope is pretty, I bet it's thirsty, you know, it's dry. So there was no erosion around the hay bales. Okay, so there's a motion to continue. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Okay, this hearing is continued to the next meeting, which is June 25th.
Thank you very much.
Unless there's
you.
another continued date that would be better, June 25th.
That's good.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for coming in. Okay, we're gonna move on to,
I'd love it.
sorry? Anybody who wants
can
to
stay if you
stay
want.
for the rest of our hearings, you're welcome to stay. Otherwise, we're done discussing
Yeah, how you doing there?
37 James Road.
I can make that natural. Down to the whole area around Boston. You know, so. What I'm putting right here.
Ongoing. Hi,
How we doing?
give me a grade.
I'm sorry.
I know. I'm
I have that wetland where I am, and I'm at the top of the hill.
Are you up?
Oh, just a question. Being easy to work, you know, right here.
You can walk from this side here.
I know. Yeah, that is the question. That is a big question, and that's our essential question.
However, talking about the bigger picture, we need to revisit this structure because thinks it's something different. I'm saying the regulation. Well, maybe this, maybe not we, but we.
Okay. I'm gonna
clarify.
excuse me. Hi, thank you. I'm going to ask the discussion to be kept to a whisper if at all possible.
It's been 90 days.
Or not, right? So,
I didn't put it in the,
Come up and around again.
packets. I don't think
okay,
it's
To move.
the next matter on our agenda is Ms. Carson.
Hi.
Welcome.
I don't think that'll be so exciting.
You never know. You never know. Welcome. We got an email forwarded to us from Chuck where you were discussing the matter you want to talk to us about. Can you sort of just reintroduce it and
Yes, actually we worked with Bill McNary on
Yep.
the Eagle Scout project, the play area, which has been completed and it looks lovely. But we have these ornamental trees down there that have been down there for around 30 years, and they're unhealthy. And the deer have been.
The deers had their way with them.
Pardon?
The deers had their way with them.
Yes, and and the deer are really well fed at Sanborn. You have to.
I
understand.
bet.
The residents feed them. I don't even know why they're not eating at the dinner table. I mean, they come up to they're just great. So I don't know why they're feeding on those trees. But we were thinking about if we could actually take down those trees and kind of, I think I used a term like, I don't know what I called it, but vegetation remodeling, but maybe put some blueberry bushes along the side of the wetlands, apple trees over in the corner, some sunflowers along the fence, but do some really healthy, change over there and get rid of the old trees that are really.
Okay.
You're talking about the evergreen trees?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The old ornamental pine trees.
Okay.
They're not native, so.
At this point, I think we need to do a site visit and see which trees you're talking about and.
I drew some pictures, and I don't know if he printed those out for you, but there was.
You know
some
what?
pictures.
He forwarded to me.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. Might be. No, that's not. That's mine. That's mine. Wait a second.
While she's looking, we've, in our experience, we found that arborvitae is a very bad plant to have because deer really like them.
Yeah. Cleanses the palate.
And maybe that's some of what you have already, but so just keep that in mind.
Well, I know they'll like the apples, but just something healthier for them.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
they're.
And they'll nibble on blueberries, but they probably won't kill them. Yeah.
Did anybody else get pictures from Chuck yesterday? Yeah, well, it's Sanborn Place, right?
Right.
Sanborn Place,
It's
yeah.
Sanborn Place. And I think he was,
No, that's
Oh, I
not.
got it, 50 days.
50 Bay Street. You got it.
okay,
Let's see what he said about.
thanks.
But I don't know if the pictures are.
There might be pictures in there. Well, no, okay. I think we need,
That's fine.
we need some specifics in writing. I don't know if this would qualify as a minor project or
Well, it would be
or
a-
an RDA or,
Would be a minor plan change, because we've approved,
Well, you looked at it before and you said because a deer had been nibbling on the tree to save the tree. But then I said, well, what about if I
Yeah.
kind of go back?
I think if they're
Do some-
ornamentals and they were
They're
planted by
ornamentals, they
them,
were
it would be
planted there.
landscaping.
Right.
And it wouldn't even be a minor project. They'd be able to do it.
It's landscape maintenance.
I think it's landscape maintenance, and I
Yeah.
think if you're prepared to replace those with blueberries along the wetlands,
Right.
that would be
And I thought because we
landscaping.
have the trees in the.
It's not even under a minor
Yeah.
project.
it's not?
It's,
No.
no, because we
Because it's planting of natives,
we
but it's
exempted,
removing of,
we exempted landscaping. If those are ornamentals, in other
a
words,
taking of trees is landscaping?
well,
No, it's ornamental, they're ornamentals.
if they're
Yeah. Okay,
so
ornamental
they're-
trees, if they're not wetland
They're not,
plants,
but, yeah.
okay? In other words, she's not removing maples or,
No.
Right.
or wetland shrubs, she's removing two ornamental, there are two, right?
There's two there and then there's a couple
third.
other, everything over there is all ornamentals. It's all been planted.
Planted part of the landscape.
Yeah, as it was part of the landscaping. Landscape maintenance, we've never, that was one of the things we exempted in the rules change. Because remember, we got into that situation
Right.
where,
Old farmland.
Old Farm Lane, where the situation that occurred was an abutter decided that he had control over someone else's backyard.
Oh, this was the drainage ditch.
Right.
Yes.
Drainage, yeah.
And I think that's what caused us to
Right.
say we exempted normal landscaping maintenance, including the removal and replacement of trees with other simpler species. I believe that's what the rules say. So I think it would not even require an RDA. I think as long as you are
That's
willing
how
to-
I understood it, but I wanted to come back and, you
Yeah.
know, Chuck and I talked about it and thought it would.
I
Okay.
I think it's landscape maintenance, and I think it falls under that exemption that we put in, simply to prevent us from getting into the situation where somebody has X trees, is gonna take them out and put in X trees
Yeah.
differently. And in this case, it's a substitution of that native vegetation for ornamentals, which would seem to me to be the.
Okay, so then,
And the deer will eat somewhere else.
So it's the kind of thing that Chuck would come before us and just okay with us that it's if it's okay with us that it's a minor project.
If
well,
that,
that's,
if that,
okay.
because it is landscape maintenance, as I.
The reason I'm back before you is because it was all in the first plan. However, you saw that the deer was nibbling on the
Yeah.
tree and you said, oh, we better leave that, the deer's eating it. And then I said, well, what about if I replace it with something that's better for the deer?
Yeah.
Healthier for the deer.
Yeah.
You don't want the deer are healthy enough. I would see it as landscape maintenance.
Why don't we do some additional coordination with Chuck?
Okay.
And I'd be more than happy to go out to the site as well, and take a look at that, and perhaps if any sort of minor permit is needed, hopefully that can be handled by the next meeting.
Okay, perfect.
Okay?
That works for me.
All right.
Okay?
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. There's, yes. All right. Mr. and Mrs. Priscilla, thank you for coming.
You don't wanna
Welcome-
talk to us.
Welcome back. Welcome back. We do want to talk to you. Come on back.
Get a little closer.
Yeah,
I'm not going to open a hearing. We don't have an official hearing, all the stuff we've been talking about is stuff we've been talking about under an enforcement order. Go
New
ahead
news?
and,
New news?
any new news?
I have some things on a memory stick. Are you able to?
No,
I know
we-
Chuck's not
Chuck's
here.
not
We don't need it.
He's got all the
We
passwords.
don't need it.
There's just one
Oh.
photograph that I don't have.
We don't need
So I'll have you tack it up to the board, or if, either way.
I can do that. And then this is the one.
Yeah.
Where's that from?
Handy dandy wood frog definition.
Oh, okay. Is this the latest?
This is the latest.
Oh.
John Rockwood came out and
Okay.
did the delineation again, which is, it's too bad I was hoping to get this up on screen, but this is his newest line, which he said he feels very confident about because it wasn't all going to be filled.
Okay, I'm gonna encourage the members of the commission to come over and take a good look at this plan.
We gotta go to the board.
Yes, sir. You gotta get out of your chairs.
Yeah, I can. If you just email it back to me. Okay. Because what I want to do is sign it. Give it to Chuck.
Yeah.
Just as testimony.
All right, so just for explanation, this line here, that's the hay bale line,
That is a silt fence.
that's the silt fence, and this is the wetland line.
That is the
at this
wetland.
point. There's the drainage easement and the sewer manhole. And this is the 85-foot contour.
Yes.
Okay, and this is what's the scale, 1 to 30?
Anyway, so a couple things to take note of, a few things that have been of interest. Obviously, the easement runs through here. The town manager, he's in the next room.
Here, Ms. Kim?
He did
No.
request that nothing would be planted in the easement.
Just memorize it.
Okay, so after the second delineation, which was done, the first one was done in the deep dead of winter,
Right.
so that was difficult, so we had John come back again and check it. It's kind of the same, but it moved in a little bit, okay? And he said, he thought that was very legitimate. What we found is that there's only 2 trees, okay, that I believe are in question. Obviously, you remember that the town told us we could take the trees down.
Right.
Yeah.
And we had also mentioned that in the past that there may be a donated tree. But when we talked to Bob last week, we said, listen, Bob, you know this happened, is there anything you can do? He didn't really seem very...
No, I saw his letter, yeah.
Okay, so I wasn't really thrilled about that, because it seems like nobody's standing up for the problem that had happened, okay? No one's taking claim or liability, so. We took a picture from our house, over the porch, that shows this entire area, and there may be a tree in the easement, okay? A small, there may be sapling in there, but there are 2 trees here. That's the extent of the trees that we see that we removed, because we stopped fill at that line and we didn't take anything out. You guys, if you come and check again, you'll see there are very few stumps there, and only 2 really fall within the wetland area.
Okay. I'm going to ask, for the sake of Kim hearing us,
Yes.
because she's taking notes, I'm going to ask us to sort of get back to our seats.
No problem.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you want to see here?
did you want to go into this?
Can we just talk about this one more second? It
Yes,
just
yes,
will
please do.
clarify anything.
Yep.
First of all, what we hope to
Yep.
do tonight is I want to end the enforcement order, whatever is involved with what I owe you for the wetland area, or what I need to replace.
Yep.
I would like to finalize on, so that we can plan on having that done.
We welcome it.
Okay, so, our hope was that, in this wetland area, obviously it's ponding, because we had mentioned that too much was removed.
Right.
Okay, and that the tree stumps dictated the previous elevation, because those were cut at the soil level, okay, as low as possible. So, it's not necessary, but it's our hope that in the future, at some time, we would be able to fill this back in so it doesn't pond. And I know that you had mentioned that you wanted high-quality loam in that area. The other thing was, we had all the fill removed that we had brought in, okay? So, what remains, even though it looks a little rocky on top from everything that had happened, is the original fill that was at the site. I mean, we brought in, X amount of dump trucks, 15, I think it was, like 15 15 went out, all right? So, what we would love to do, if it's possible, is define your wetland area with some rocks or stones, so therefore, it's a gospel space. If you don't need it filled in immediately, and you're fine with the ponding, then it will give us some time to get the high-quality loom and put it in later. And we would know where to put it because your rocks would be there. I don't know how those rocks will affect the easement. I don't really think Bob cares too much about it. But I would like to separate it from the yard so that we know that there's
Yeah.
an exact thing there where the flags are. Now,
We welcome demarcations of some sort,
So
and if
if-
it could be fancy or not. or
not
whatever,
fancy would be
whatever,
great.
yeah.
Rocks and stones, boulders, 2 feet diameter.
We've,
I've got some for you if you need them.
If you do, anyway, just, that was
I
the
really
vision,
do.
that
yeah,
we would put that there, and that would also act as a temporary thing that if the town did need to come in,
right.
they could push the boulder over
They're good at that.
and push it back into place. So we thought that was a reasonable solution.
Yep.
And then,
You do that.
Yep.
we have elevation overlays from, before and after. And it does show that, this was lowered by a foot or so. That's about the amount of fill that would be necessary to bring that back up, okay? But all we really desire is to really grass this area around your zone, not in it, of course. We had mentioned up to the line, a variance up to the line with the grass.
Up to the 25-foot, up to the wetland line.
Up to the wetland
itself-
line.
Itself.
Yeah. So we were hoping, stones up to the wetland line, which would create a curve in our yard. We don't even care, it's fine. And then instead of bringing in any more fill, smooth out what's there. Not bring in any more, just keep what we have. Maybe the only fill that required would be to eliminate the ponding in your area, and that would be the fresh, high-grade loam, which you had mentioned is what you wanted, right? If you
Yeah.
took earth out and you put it back in, you want
Yeah.
the good stuff in there, so
Yeah.
I understand that
And you
completely.
do. You don't
Yes.
put your kids in the.
But
Well, they won't be in the wetland area.
No, but I mean, you don't put your
You're
kids
so
near,
optimistic
near
about your
Phil.
children.
Yeah, you don't
Right.
put your kids near Phil that has glass in it.
Mine will be in it.
Not when I'm looking, at least.
These are my neighbors.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's very simple. What we would like to do is close up on what we owe you. If it's a certain number of trees, you have to, obviously you want to verify, so you come out and verify how many trees you feel like are actually necessary.
Okay.
If you think there's a chance that you could talk to Bob about donating trees, obviously that would be great. I feel like they really dropped the ball on that one.
And we've spent a lot of money.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
if-
know you guys
saw
do that all the
I
time.
mean, it's.
Saw the emails.
There's
Wait,
you did-
absolutely no
okay.
question you spent a lot of money. There's absolutely no question that you spent it in good faith. There's absolutely no question that it's unreasonable not to stand up for what somebody did. I mean,
Nobody's standing up for what they did.
I understand that.
And I can't believe it, but you know what? I want to move past it.
Yeah, I
So,
think,
so now I want you to tell us, at some point in time, what trees or how many trees you feel are necessary to be planted, and then we can talk about where the best place based on hydration is to plant those. But to be able to isolate this at this point in time by having someone bring in some stones to say, okay, this is that, and then smoothing the area out that was all agitated outside your line.
by the removal of the.
By the removal, because big tractors went in there, we had a big thing inside that taking it
Yeah.
all out. So they traversed all over the whole yard. Now, there is a slope easement on our property, and it could be a little bit more pronounced around the berm of the street, which would allow us to flatten out that area just a little bit, okay? So maybe you could look at that too. And like a 3-to-1, it's usually the safe range that everyone talks about, would work perfect. It would steepen the berm a little bit, but flatten the area around the boulders that we're discussing. And that's the extent of our plan. I don't want to ask for any more wetland or replacing wetland from one thing to another. If you let us go up to the stones, that's fine. We're done. We concede. We want to plant, smooth, have the option in the plan to bring this loom in at some date, maybe not immediately. I don't know how much that costs, but if it takes 3 to 4 dump trucks full of loom, I need to get that estimate and see where it would get that. I have an idea. But, you know, I don't know what you think about that, but that's really the extent of what we're talking about.
It's in the wetland that you need to put it? So it's hydric soil you have to get?
They overdug during the removal.
They overdug and it's
Yeah.
cooling there now. I mean, not, it's
It is hydric
dry
soil.
now, but, you know, in April,
Well,
it was. it
so
was
has your
cool.
biologist had input on this plan?
Yes, he has.
Okay.
And he agrees that this was overdug by over a foot.
Right.
And that's transforming that lower portion of our yard into a pooling water area, which it never did
Yeah,
before.
yeah.
You can see the crater, it
Our
looks like
our
a.
surveyor actually printed out the current elevations on acetate.
Yep.
And then he scaled the original contours to
Yep.
the same scale. So you can actually see where it was and where it is now. And he even said in that area, he said it's about a foot lower. And his words were, what did you guys overdig it?
So did my understanding from the original plan was that there was going to be digging up to a certain depth and then additional digging to find the original layer under the supervision and oversight of the wetland scientist to do that final hand digging.
But what happened?
Wait a sec, was that done or was that
John, he did supervise it, but it was the deep cold of winter. Obviously, this had happened in like January. And the tractor is enormous, and they were in there in inclement weather. They were digging. I think it was, muddy, maybe wet down there,
It was
not very
very
easy
mucky.
to see. And I had said to them, I said, listen, guys, those trees were cut at the dirt line.
right?
And when I came home, I see the tree sticking up out of the ground by over a foot. I said, honey, what happened? Why did they go so deep? But it's too late at that point in time.
Right. It was done.
And I don't
done.
know the reasoning why they went so deep, and I was surprised at that myself.
Yeah.
But the acetates show that that's true.
Yeah.
And if you look out in the yard, you can see that area is a complete dish compared to the smooth, topography that it was
Flat.
before. Yeah.
I'm just sort of going through the conditions in the enforcement order, because this, I think back in December, when this was issued, we had some concept of a plan going forward, and I just sort of wanna, come up to speed with where we're at now, and I'm so grateful you came in with a plan. I really appreciate that, I see a lot clearer where the line is compared to your house and what the area is like around that. I think according to the enforcement order, and I'll just read from it, a plan to remove the fill, clean up the disturbed area, which the fill's been removed, the disturbed area. I'm not sure what clean up means, except maybe remove stumps I don't know if they were left. Install native trees and shrubs and stabilize all areas of unauthorized disturbance. So, at this point, we're talking about planting. Is that your understanding?
Yeah,
Okay.
there are some.
Okay, I just wanna make sure we're on the same.
I'm just not sure the extent of it. I'm not sure exactly what you prefer. I see 2 to 3, maybe 2 or 3 trees in that area. And you just have to agree, to a number.
Well, I think,
Let me explain what typically happens, is applicants will work with a nursery or with Chuck or with their own professional to come up with this many trees spaced like this on the plan and this many shrubs and this much. There are 3 types of growth, a tree, it's the really tall stuff, a shrub, the kind of lower stuff, and then herbaceous stuff like plants, like the flowers and, the low stuff that dies off during the fall. So, some sort of vegetation planted outside of, uphill of the wetland line, up from the wetland line to 25 feet from the wetland line is our performance standard for protecting the resource area. that's, it's in our regulations that a zone of, says under most conditions, a zone with a minimum of 25 feet would be considered sufficient to accomplish the purpose of providing a buffer between anything upland and the wetland itself. So that 25-foot zone from a wetland, we look at as a zone of natural vegetation to be protective of the wetland. So how you want to propose to plant that, Chuck has a list of plants. I have.
Now, if I remember
Here.
correctly,
I have lists of plant-
there wasn't a shrub layer here. I'm looking for the note.
I think
from
it was
the-
just tree canopy,
It was
wasn't
tree
it
canopy,
before?
and there was a herbaceous layer, although maybe there wasn't much of a herbaceous layer. I remember
That's the sense I get
the
from.
wetland scientists talked about that specifically, which saves you a layer, obviously.
Okay,
You have a neighbor.
okay. Would you like to add to this?
Yeah, I'm in the butter directly south.
Okay.
I've lived there for 34 years. There were extensive layers of everything you've said. So,
The lower,
so
the mid.
if the wetlands guy is stating that there was not a shrub layer, then that's wrong.
Okay, so there was everything.
And I understand where Joe's coming from. Your jurisdiction is in the wetlands itself, but a considerable number of trees were removed from the other parts. And I'm encouraged by hearing you talk about perhaps you have the jurisdiction to require stabilization upland. Because personally, I would not want the resolution here to be 3 trees in the wetlands and the rest of this to be lawn. I would not want that to be the outcome here. Our neighborhood lost a significant positive feature of the neighborhood. There were some negatives to it, there's no question, but it was an important feature. I understand how it happened. Joe and Alana were in a bad place, and I feel bad for the amount of money they've had to spend.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the fact that they're trying to move on this, but I'm here to say it's taking way too long. The fill that needs to be established to restore the elevation in the wetlands needs to go in there soon. Because when we get to the fall, it's gonna be another mud hole. It was a significant attraction to the whole neighborhood atmosphere this spring, and we don't wanna see that again. I don't know how it got excavated so deep.
But it's very, unfortunately, one of the real problems you have is when you do excavation in the winter.
I understand. I'm not trying to.
No, there was almost no way that could have been, I mean, if it had been in the middle of the summer, you could have done it a little more closely.
Precisely, I understand.
Yeah, and the fundamental problem.
It was a mud hole this spring, and I don't want it to be a mud hole in the fall. We all have kids in the neighborhood, and it's just not a good thing. I encourage the commission, to the extent that it has jurisdiction, to require some form of plantings that will reestablish some of the visual and aesthetic buffer that was taken from us.
The jurisdictional area is 100 feet from the wetland line. So, any work 100 feet upland or far from that wetland line, just for clarification.
Okay, and I appreciate that, I understand that now. And I really don't want to have a program that adds significantly to their expense. I don't, and I understand their original goal was to have a nice lawn area for the kids to play in, and I think that can be a positive. But somewhere in between, the visual buffer needs to be reestablished, because that's a significant loss to the whole neighborhood, not just the abutters, to the whole neighborhood. And we could never see Pearl Street from our development. Now it's right there front and center. It's just, and to the degree that you have some jurisdiction, I would encourage a little bit more than just grass up to the stone wall that he's proposing and 3 trees in the wetlands. that doesn't seem to us like the right outcome.
We
And
have,
further, the town's requirement that nothing be planted in the easement is.
well, that's an engineering request.
Well, the whole misapplication of this easement as the cause of all of this is, it's very irritating. You
We
know,
are-
for
we
that, and
understand.
then further, when people call and find out, oh, by the way, all this is going down on Friday and the town's closed on Friday. Oh,
That's when it
okay,
usually happens.
yeah,
Well,
perfect.
We're almost
What-
convinced that
what's-
nothing happens on
Except
any
on
day of the
Friday.
week,
Well,
except
you know,
Friday,
what's-
Saturday, and Sunday when nobody's
Yeah.
around.
What's
So-
what's
Except
done
for
is
us home.
done.
They were put in a bad place.
Yeah, I
And as I
really,
heard earlier today, it's their property. To the extent that they comply with the rules, it's up
yeah.
to them to do what they can. Some things that happened, we didn't like. I didn't like, I should say. I don't speak for anybody except my wife and I, we didn't like. And to the degree that the commission has jurisdiction, we would like to see some of the buffer reestablished. Because I think it does protect the wetland, but more selfishly, I want to see some of the benefits of what we had there returned to the neighborhood.
Anybody else want to jump in?
Well, I think, it seems to me that I would urge the commission to come back out, take another site visit, take a look at what's there, so you can make some intelligent decisions about what's the appropriate level of restoration necessary. And, the challenge obviously is to try to do it in a way in which we restore to the degree possible some of the issues and try to be as reasonable and flexible in terms of both your expense already foregone, your sunk cost, no bad puns about that, it's what the accountants call it, is a sunk cost. And also, to do what we need to do to protect the wetland resource. So I would urge the commission I can easily urge the commission since I'm
This is his.
serious short time.
You won't be, yeah.
Just
be
to let
part
the
of the
audience
commission.
know, today's his last time with us on the commission.
It was nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
For
you.
how many years? 11 years?
11 years.
11 years, so.
I just want to make one comment.
Go
As
ahead.
far as what was taken down, we have increased visibility on the street. When we moved into the property, there were some large trees and we're on a corner. When we took out the trees, we said, oh, this is wonderful. We can actually see cars coming
out
around
of
the
your
corner.
driveway.
And our children are playing out around front. So I just want that to be taken into consideration. It's a lot safer for the children on the street.
It's a real, many of the pieces of property in this town, having seen them over 11 years, I go back to type and say, you've got to remember that the town's official symbol has the typical sword and arm over a water wheel. The town is a wet town. There are two doggone many places that had the rules in the 1970s come into existence in the 1950s. We probably wouldn't have schools where we have them. We certainly wouldn't have the high school playing fields sitting on what is known as the Birch Meadow recreation area.
We wouldn't have a number of playing fields in town.
Meadow, by the
Number.
way, is a Yankee term for swamp.
Yeah, so.
Wet meadows.
Sir, just for the sake of the record, just your name and address
Yes.
and you,
I'm-
you two.
I'm Chuck Losinger, 17 Gavin Circle.
Okay, thank you.
And Ryan Malontaine at 24 Gavin Circle.
Okay.
So I live directly across the street, and not to rehash everything that, has happened in the past, or
Yeah.
what Chuck just mentioned too. At the previous meeting, the council did mention about providing trees from some area in the city. I don't know what the program is called, but there was something owed to the town, and it was mentioned that you guys would take advantage of that to do some restoration.
Unfortunately, the tree warden didn't seem
Nobody's
to be
gonna have this,
responsive.
right?
I was
And-
gonna ask about that, yeah.
Or anything from
It's-
George.
Was that your experience, was the tree, you went to the tree warden and you
Yes.
weren't?
We can't get anything out of engineering or George.
We sent Bob a letter, and we said, Bob, listen,
Yeah.
About trees?
he gave us the approval to cut down the trees and to clear the land.
Any
Now-
resources.
Now, nobody is standing up for doing anything.
So is that something that
So
can
there's
be
no commitment at this
revisited?
point?
There's no commitment from
Okay.
anyone.
Well, actually, could I have a look at your plan again, the one with the green, shows the,
I want to get to the resident's question,
Um,
because sorry, he just opened up.
It's just to reiterate what, a little bit of what Chuck, was saying, because, I'm speaking obviously for myself, my wife, in that we live directly across the street, and I completely feel for Joe and Alana with this whole thing, from financial to everything, stresses, whatever. Where we are, being directly across the street, I personally would not be happy with grass going up to the rocks. I would want to see some of that privacy of restoration come back, because it was very pretty. And again, some type of plan that's not going to continue to empty their pockets, and that's why I'm wondering if the city or you guys can bring it back to talk to this tree guy. And it's just not fair to mention that in a meeting, bring hope to the residents,
yeah.
and then come back and say, well, that's not gonna happen. Because with all due respect, while the tree guy may have said it, you guys mentioned it.
Yeah.
Right,
So
and we were
it's-
hopeful because from time to time, the tree warden has had available trees. He apparently doesn't have any now, but we'll certainly raise the matter again with the town manager.
So was it not clear to the council that you guys were under the impression that was?
We are not kept up to date.
They don't keep an
They don't
inventory, then
keep
tell
us-
us, you
Well,
know.
no, because you mentioned there was one. That's why I'm saying that.
There has been.
There has been.
There has been
Okay.
There have
a
been,
pool of
there have been a
available
pool
trees
of
in the
available
past.
trees in the past.
And
There
you would know
apparently-
better than I
right.
would about
There
that.
apparently
because I-
is not one right now, okay? There are a number of trees that were planted in the old water treatment plant area, sort of as a holding area. Apparently those have all been used, okay? And what has happened is, as you know, a number of the older trees, if you just look up and down the streets of Reading, there are some older street trees that have been replaced by newer street trees. Apparently that consumed the stock available, okay? We made the suggestion because from time to time that has happened. There apparently are none right now.
Okay.
And it's not, we certainly didn't want to raise anybody's hope. We felt the same as everyone does, that Joe and Alana have been treated with the pointy end of the stick. And, that's not fair and it's not appropriate. We had hopes that there would be some resource available. There apparently isn't any. And,
That's basically why I'm asking for a minimalistic resolution.
So Joe, I understand.
Because it can go on forever.
right.
No,
Right.
I understand
Right,
that, but I would prefer something less minimalist.
And I thank you so much for coming in with this plan. The next step is getting to that final planting concept plopped on that plan with, this tree here, this tree there, this shrub here, this planted here, this planted there. That's the point, especially with this enforcement order in effect, that's where we're at. And
Can I ask these two guys a question since they're
by
here?
all means,
If the trees were planted in the wetland area and blocked your view of Pearl Street, would that be satisfactory?
I think that those trees there that will be good, Joe. According to what I recall, had you wanted to cut those, I would have been informed. There would have been a hearing on those trees, I think. Every other tree that's been cut by any of the neighbors around there, I've always gotten a notice.
Engineering, yeah.
I
know the
understand
story.
that, I understand that, and that's fine, but that's, and eventually that'll help Ryan and Sandy from the point of view of looking through to Pearl Street. The abutter at 17 Gavin Circle, I'm more concerned about the strip between your silt fence and where you're gonna put your stone wall. I don't wanna take away your lawn concept. I understand that that's important to you and it's important to the kids. And that'll actually be a nice feature. But from my perspective of somebody that lives at 17 Gavin Circle, we never used to even see your house.
So, I'm just
We
saying.
couldn't even see your house, and that was good. Not that there's
Well,
anything
no, I
wrong with your
understand, I
house.
understand. But are you saying
But
if
I-
Maples were here?
I would prefer some shrubs in between the silt fence and the,
What about
and the
something
stone
here,
wall.
Chuck?
Well, see, that helps me a lot. I don't know if it helps Ryan and Sandy all that much, but that's perfect for me.
Here for you, so you don't see us.
Well, it's,
It's
for as
okay,
long as
I
I'm
don't
gonna
take
be
it as
there.
an
I'm gonna
insult.
see you for as long as I'm gonna be there, but the next owner will be very thankful.
Gentlemen, excuse me, I appreciate this
Yeah,
discussion.
we're taking your time.
I
Yeah.
appreciate this
Okay.
discussion, the essence, and, you know, I'm glad you're talking about planting. We wanna encourage you to fill in as many wetland-friendly plants, buffer zone plants within 25 feet of upland of that wetland line.
Okay, hold on.
To reestablish per our performance standards, the zone of natural vegetation.
Okay, but I'd like to put those in a place that also satisfies these guys.
I hear
So,
you.
so if I can do that, and
I
then
hear
we
you.
say, Chuck would like privacy on his
And-
side, so that would be here, and I would ask you if that would satify your criteria.
That's our performance.
I'm not sure you're really hearing what she said.
Maybe not.
25 feet uphill of the wetland line, towards the
So,
street.
so that's,
Natural vegetation.
that's the area between, on the existing map with, in one area it comes a little bit closer than 25 feet. So I'm talking about the zone on that map between the wetland flags
that
and the
this?
hay bales.
Yes.
Yes.
That's that.
But not in
that's-
here?
Okay, well, the easement is, that's what I'm saying, is 30 feet wide there, and that easement covers quite a large area.
And the easement, but so as I described the three sort of vegetation types, there's trees, there's shrubs, there's wetland
Herbaceous,
wildflowers, there's
herbaceous, yeah.
herbaceous grasses, there's other stuff that can be planted there. I don't see how engineering can have a conflict with herbaceous growth, the flowers, the grasses, but the wetlands friendly. You know, there's mixes of vegetation that can be suitable to protect the wetlands, not be a tree in certain parts there. And you know the parts, the easement, and trees elsewhere. And as Mr. Couillard, who I wanna wake up, who might know, we've asked him in previous projects to put wetland friendly, wetland tolerant and thriving trees in the wetlands. On Forest Street, I believe we did that. So trees can be planted in the wetlands and in the 25-foot zone there. And if you want to avoid putting trees in that easement,
I
then
think they have to avoid it.
avoid doing that. But there's other plants that can be planted there that are
Grass,
still
grass
wetland
doesn't,
friendly.
grass doesn't qualify as
No.
a,
Not turf
Does-
grass, no.
Not turf grass.
turf lawn. In other words, the grass, it turns out, is a totally upland plant. It has to be well drained. If it gets too wet, it won't grow. There are plenty of wildflowers, there are plenty of grasses, not turf grass, that are wetland tolerant. Those are the kinds of things that would be plantable on the easement because you can drive over them, okay? Blueberry bushes, there's a lot of
Winterberry.
winterberry, arrowwood, there's a lot of small shrub-like plants which are wet foot tolerant. And then there are trees like mostly red maple, but there are other trees as well that are wetland tolerant. And the art form, and that's why it's an art form, is to try to mix those things in a way in which the easement is not blocked, but it's got wetland tolerant grasses and wildflowers in it.
Because that's still buffering vegetation
Right.
that supports the wetland function. What it's doing for the land, for flood storage, for habitat quality, and for, for the sake of the town, so.
So I think what we're trying to get to is, if you take that line and you go out 25 feet, that is our performance standard.
Plantings of wetland-friendly type plants of a variety of types in that 25-foot zone.
Beyond the 25-foot zone, you can have all the lawn you want. That's our standard.
Somebody.
You just can't put a foundation there.
No, no.
As
No,
you know
absolutely
before,
not.
the meeting, the hearing before, two before you know.
Which maybe you heard me.
Structures, not structures, foundations, grass is fine.
So now,
Okay.
with that area being very small, and wanting to put a 3-to-1 maybe potential grade on that, if that area becomes very small, almost too small to do anything in, is there still a chance of getting a variance to get that closer than 25 feet? So it becomes a useful area as opposed to just a slanted hill. Because, I mean, I'm just saying, if it's gonna be a slanted hill and you can't use it, then why even bother?
Right.
We're not looking to do
Right.
anything that would, I would think, would harm the wetlands. So is there any going around the 25-foot buffer zone?
Well, a suggestion might be to put your steep slope in the 25 foot and then flatten it out as you come up at the top where your grass is. So in other words, you can go steep because you don't need to mow it. You
I
don't
have a
need to-
slope easement there, at the edge of the street.
You have to drain
Along the sidewalk, there is a
Oh, the
slope
slope
easement there.
easement.
Okay, so what
Yeah.
I'm saying is, this whole front portion is a 3-to-1.
Right.
Okay, and that's, you never wanna
right.
see anyone go more than 3-to-1 because it's not self-supportive, okay?
Right.
So, I understand that, so 3-to-1 takes that quite, if this is, 25 here, this is not very large.
Right.
Right.
And I'm not saying I'm looking for a large, I'm just saying it ends up not really being very much. Which is why we were hoping to get a variance to get closer to the rocks, so that we could have a little room to move around.
So I see what you're saying. So
Yeah.
the steep slope is on the edge of the road and then it flattens.
I
out.
can't change the slope
You
easement, it's part of the,
You can't make, right, we'd be adding more fill again. We'd be back to where we started from.
I guess a few things. to
Sorry, go
say.
ahead, Will. Go ahead, jump in.
Our expectation last year was that John Rockwood would help you come up with a planting plan for the wetland area as well as this 25-foot zone. I don't think we were entertaining any kind of grading changes in any of this area except to try and get it back to the way it was. But that's a restoration rather than a change. And I think our frustration is that we haven't seen a plan. We need to get a plan that's got the species indicated. John Rockwood is a great biologist, and maybe in the wetland area there may be some ferns that go in there. Maybe that's where we need a plan, and we can't tell you, and we'd really rather not tell you what to plant, because we always like to let the experts figure it out.
no, I understand, it's just,
And also, when we have a wetland delineation, especially new projects, but this is almost like a new project, we look for stone indicators or boundaries similar to what your suggestion, but it's usually at the 25-foot from the wetland line, so that people in the future know that they shouldn't be going beyond that area. And then that 25-foot zone is also left in a natural state. It's not mowed. It's, a lot of plants are gonna come up on their own. But there's definitely some restoration that needs to be done and some trees planted in the areas, outside of the easement, obviously. But I agree with Anika that, shrub layer, herbaceous plants in the easement are not gonna be a problem for the town. And we'll go towards restoring the, this buffer zone, to, to more of a functioning bordering vegetated wetland. So, we need a plan. This isn't specific enough, because we need species and locations, or at least numbers of plants in general areas. I'm sure John understands the issues.
so the easement is gonna be like a grass, more so. That's what we're considering, I'm just saying that the town requested no plantings, but we're saying grass needs to be planted in the easement.
The easement itself, but again, in that 25 feet beyond the wetland line should be wetland tolerant grasses or herbaceous plants of some sort, not just.
Not trees, though.
No trees.
Not trees.
No, the town doesn't
Yeah,
want trees there.
Okay,
but
so,
but they,
all right.
but on either side of that easement, trees might well be appropriate in that 25-foot zone, as well as in the actual inside the wetlands. Because there were some trees inside that wet area. There must have been red maples and things that can stand inundation from time to time. But again, John Rockwood's more than qualified to advise you on that and come up with a planting plan. And I realize that's an expense, and I think that's probably why there's been a delay, because it's, not only having him do the plan, but then buying the plans. But, we've done our best to try and get the town to provide things, and they're not being cooperative. They don't want to set a precedent.
That took some
apparently.
time too. We've been trying to pry it out of their hands. There's been no answer there.
Yeah, they don't want to set a precedent.
And it's taken time to get people out. John had to wait until April until it thawed out to redo the delineation.
And now he's really busy.
The surveyor came out twice, and his guys, were all
Well, that's
complaining about
great.
being out there in the muck.
That's
and
great. I mean, surveyors are almost the most expensive thing. They're terrible.
For full disclosure, I do need to make sure that the DEP has been curious about this project. They have great interest in this project, and if the DEP sees, here's just how I see it, and I'm just telling you for the sake of knowledge, because if I don't tell you, then shame on me. That if they don't see a certain amount of action, they sound interested in enough to be willing to take it over and lift it out of our hands, and they have that authority.
What more action could they be seeing?
Everybody has to realize that this all happened before a horrific winter.
No,
Chuck was on our doorstep right before Thanksgiving, and then we got so much snow over the winter. How much can you possibly do unless you wait until April?
Not to mention that the silt fence is up, the area is stabilized, the soil's been removed.
Yes,
But the planting plan could have been prepared over the winter.
Well, that depends.
We had discussed this back in January, that we were gonna wait until everything thawed out, until people could actually go
John
out
did say
there.
they're gonna wait to see what came up.
Exactly, to see
Because
what the
they-
hydrology was of the
John
soils.
did
We talked
testify
about
that
that.
they wanted to see what would volunteer.
So I don't understand the DEP thing.
Well, I don't know.
Well, we don't always either.
I don't know exactly where. I just wanted to share that with you so that you did know.
As long
I just
as
think everybody needs to understand how we feel, though. The town dropped the ball and put us in this position, and now we feel like we're getting threatened with actions from the DEP when
I'm
we
not
wouldn't.
trying to.
And
I'm
not
trying to
trying
threaten you. I
and
just
I'm not
wanna
trying to push it back on
let-
you, but that's how it feels to us.
And it's the
I
commission,
can
it should
understand that.
it should be your responsibility to make sure the DEP is informed of that exact situation. Now, if you're not relaying the information.
The DEP has seen everything, okay? They have a right, and they do frequently see our minutes. They see what action is taking place. Unfortunately, like any state agency, what they do is they look at whether in their mind, not in your mind, not in our mind, but in their mind, appropriate actions have been taken. Okay, and one of the things that is an issue is we don't like to see the DEP involved either, okay? Simply because they don't often act with as much flexibility as we try to in the town. And, the only thing I can say is the chairman informed you that they appear to be interested. That's not a threat, you just need to know that, okay?
We're 100 feet or more from the vernal pool.
Understand that.
Do they know what the town did? They probably don't, right? They don't know that at all. See, that's
There's
the
no
problem.
reason.
I don't know what they know.
They
I
could have
just
looked at the
wanted to
videos.
let you know.
All of that testimony is on the videotape, okay? If they want to look at the issue, it's on the videotape. Because you've testified, John's testified, we've got minutes,
They're public record.
I think the state should do something. I think that if a town worker misinforms a resident under the town manager's control, and that happens and it costs a family that much money, why should the family be responsible to pay for that mistake?
And unfortunately, we can't deliberate that point or that issue.
Well, I know, but
and we do know, and we have heard, and we're not ignoring that. It's just that we've got the conservation stuff we're responsible for overseeing. So we're gonna tell you the conservation stuff as straight as we can. I think at this point, you know, like I said, I'm grateful to see the plan. Chuck has a list of wetland-friendly plants, at the conservation office, I believe. Is
John knows that
actually-
stuff too.
is
John
that
knows
actually-
John does know that.
Yep.
John can prepare
you know,
a plan,
I've-
there's no question about that.
I myself, I've talked to different nurseries when I've gone to visit them about, hey, I've got this going on in my yard, I've got this and this and that and the other. Do you have a suggestion about what you know, so there are professionals available to assist with getting a planting plan together, and I think that's the next step.
All right, so
And it has to be in writing with a list of the plants and the locations of them shown on the plan.
And some can be planted in the wetland area as well, if it
Yes.
turns out that would make the plan more
Yes.
well-rounded, you're saying.
Yes, and so the plants, a list of the plants, what types, the number of plants, where they're going to be, and the schedule of when you're proposing to plant them. I believe the ideal, you know, growth season, next begins, is coming to a close, you know, sort of the natural rainy season that would support new plants. Otherwise, you're gonna go out there and you're gonna water wetland plants, and they're not gonna thrive, right? So you don't wanna waste your money buying plants that you can't just throw in the ground and they will manage on their own. So you're gonna want to get the next plan together. We're gonna have to see a planting plan, you know, sometime either by the next meeting, June 25th or July 9th at that latest, to look at that planting plan.
We have a plan, we have
A planting plan,
How
so
would-
that
yeah.
we can deliberate and vote on it and approve it in our meetings, and then it can be planted. I mean, I think the next ideal time starts in the fall. I've been advised that mid-September is the best time to.
But
Plan to
this isn't
start
the plan you
planting
just
again.
referred to, is it?
That is not the plan I just referred to. I have a
Okay.
species plan,
So-
but the question in our plan, and it always has been, was the same question I keep on bringing up, was what we were doing with the easement and what was going
Yeah.
inside there, and were there trees or bushes? It's becoming more
Do you-
clear over time.
Yeah, if we have
Do
the
you
plan, then we can help answer those questions.
Okay.
And if we can't answer them, we can get engineering to answer them for us. But we can probably go a long ways, but we need the plan that shows the species and where they're going, and that's and just reviewing the letter from Bob LeLacheur to you, the fourth paragraph, his first sentence really, unfortunately, sums it all up. What CONSCOM needs from you is a plan developed by an engineer of the path forward you're proposing. I know you mentioned a plan, but want to make sure this is something with detail that can be discussed. We don't have that plan yet, so we can't discuss it.
I think we're
And-
close.
No, we're ready. I have a
So-
species plan. John needs to take a look at it and just modify it
Right.
based on tonight's
Okay.
information,
Good.
and we can be ready for the next meeting.
Great,
Great.
okay.
Okay, so, go ahead.
Did we talk about the possibility of getting a variance though, within that 25-foot? Because I know you had mentioned that question.
What he'd have to do would be to put it on the plan so we can see where it is, and that can be part of the deliberation. Okay, the issue really is, we can't sort of do that in the abstract. We have to do it based on a plan that says, here's what you'd like us to modify.
Okay.
And the difficulty is, absent that, the last thing I want to do as my last act in my last meeting is to perpetuate the series of misunderstandings that have preceded us, okay? Don't want any more of that. That's why when you have a plan that everybody can look at and say, okay, those are the species, these can be moved here, those can be moved there. Perhaps some of them can be moved to accommodate the desires of your neighbors. You know, we'll try to be as collaborative as possible, but absent a plan with that sort of a starting place, it's almost impossible for us to not perpetuate the misunderstandings.
We
That's
have
the
it.
last
We
thing.
have the
Yeah.
plan.
Okay, great,
We had a plan developed already.
good.
Um,
And if John takes a look at it and you're ready to give it to Chuck for the next meeting, that would be superb.
Okay, can we do that?
No reason not to.
Okay, and then, let's say that plan is a good plan.
Mhm.
What happens after that?
We say go ahead.
And then, if I get it done, am I done with the enforcement order?
Absolutely.
Is there an end with
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the fundamental issue of the enforcement order is it's simply a mechanism to cause you to present a plan and then execute the plan. Once we see the plan is being executed, we can lift the enforcement.
I can tell you that the plan is around a $4,000 to $5,000 plan. I can tell you that.
I can believe it.
I can
Okay,
easily
so,
believe that.
and I can also tell you that there's not gonna be any trees in the easement, so we can work together to try and, in that $4,000 plan, relocating something so that,
Love to do that.
you know, everyone's
Yeah.
happy. I mean, of course, that's what I want. So I'm sure we'll see each other.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Right.
if you guys would be happy with that, schedule us for the
Yeah.
next soonest
We will
meeting
put
that
you
you
on the next
can.
meeting. Yeah.
Maybe we'll try and have John here, right? You might want that, I don't know. Do you want John
Why
here?
don't we touch base with John, and then, just contact Chuck?
Yep.
Contact
He
Chuck.
wouldn't
Be back in,
necessarily
like,
have to be
tomorrow?
here if he did the plan.
Okay,
If
I
it's a
just,
plan and you know, it's the way you want it, I mean, you know, the town, we'd like to see it vegetated. We know that certain amount of stuff is also gonna come in. John is gonna know what sort of spacing is appropriate based on anticipated future growth. You know, everybody, they put these little spindly trees like 15, 20 feet from each other, and then they grow over the decades to become these behemoths, and all of a sudden they look really close
Yeah.
together. You know, so, you know, somebody who's familiar with the types of plants they are can set you up with appropriate spacing
Okay.
and offset and all that.
I'm just not a
Okay.
species
But
guy,
he
so.
doesn't have to
I'm-
present it. I mean, you can bring the plan in,
Right.
Yeah.
and that would be sufficient. That
Yeah.
would save you some money as well, so.
Okay.
It's great, if that's
Okay.
okay with you, then that's what
Yeah.
we'll do.
That's fine.
Okay.
Again, my understanding was that the 25-foot buffer would be honored, and I suspect I believe we talked to John about that, and that his plan would reflect that. And that's my desire, to preserve that 25-foot zone in a natural state.
Okay.
I just to be fair for you to let you know what I feel.
I appreciate that.
No, absolutely.
Just
Yeah.
curious,
Yes.
another question, what defines natural state?
Well, it would be plants that John Rockwood would recommend for that kind of hydrology, that kind of soil type.
To what it looked like previously, or?
To match what was there.
To satisfy the
Match what's
wetland
there now.
replenishing requirements.
The issue that,
I'm wondering if it's gonna take 10 years to not see Pearl Street.
It's,
let
I
me
don't know.
guarantee you one thing, okay, and that
Something
is,
along those lines.
none of these
I
plans.
can get a 5-foot bush and.
Right, but none of these plans we have ever approved has required the replacement of a 50-foot tree with
Yeah,
a 50-foot
right,
tree,
right. No,
okay?
I know that would be.
And, you know, what we'll ask is that there be a suitable number and a reasonable, and that's why you have John Rockwood doing it. I can also guarantee when they're planted, you will see Pearl Street, okay? How long it will take before you don't see Pearl Street, I can't, you know, that's beyond my ken. You know, my Solomonic seal has broken after 11 years. That's why I'm getting off the commission.
How about a mural?
Yeah. And I'm sure that, John is, you know, with the goals that he had in mind, he's probably thinking 2-inch diameter trees, something like that, rather than 1-inch diameter or the little sprigs you get from the Arborway Foundation, because that's a good sized tree to plant and it'll get bigger faster.
It'll thrive.
A small tree that's only 1 inch in diameter very well can die because they don't have the well-established root structure. But you know, John's the expert on that. That's why the plan's expensive. But
Right.
you know, I trust his judgment, but it will take time to restore.
I think one real estate agent told me, you know, the best time to plant a tree was 25 years ago in that spot. You know. I thought that's pretty close.
But some valuations on large trees, if there's a violation and the wetland bylaw dictates that they can value a large 1.5, 2 foot tree at $35,000. It's biological value. I don't know how they come up with these figures, but that's what they do. It's,
So.
Done?
Okay, any further questions?
Done?
No?
Right. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for coming in.
Guys,
Thank
we'll
you.
see you on
Thank
the
you
street.
for preparing the plan.
Hey, Will, I just wanted to say, have a happy retirement. And it's a pleasure meeting you. Okay?
Thank you.
Guys, have a good night. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Right, we're on the agenda for 2 weeks from now?
Right.
We will put you
Touch
on
base
the
with
agenda.
Chuck.
We talking 2 weeks?
2 weeks, the 29th?
Let me show you right now.
Okay.
No,
25th?
the 23rd, 25th. Wednesday, the 25th.
Wednesday, the 25th. Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Coulard, how are you?
Do you want to keep that one?
Why don't you
You
give it
can-
back?
Yeah, I don't need
Have
it.
it
Yeah.
on, like, why don't you keep it for your-
You got-
Okay, guys,
Thank you.
have a good night. Okay?
Thank you.
Do you want to do Al?
I know it
Yes,
wasn't an easy
we're
one.
gonna go straight to.
Because we have Cumberland
Mr.
Farms too, that looks you out.
Yeah, but there's. Mr. Couillard, how are you this evening?
Great.
Okay. Did
Yeah.
you know we're gonna get some additional TV coverage, I guess?
I guess so.
I guess so. All right, well,
Get an R
that's
rating if
life.
this keeps up.
That's life. I'm gonna have to pull him back in when we
Yeah,
get
it
additional
was more
TV
than we
coverage.
bargained for. believe me.
Yeah, I mean, all right, so let's, so I think you're here for the order of condition for Sanborn Lane. I'm gonna go by our agenda order, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
And I'm gonna find, where's my
Lot
copy?
2 first.
Right here.
Here you go.
You lost a copy.
I lost the
and
copies.
the originals.
I lost the copies. Okay, so we're gonna do this in order of the agenda. So we'll do lot 2, then lot 3, then the roadway. I'm just going to, I'm gonna just start off and see if you had any questions or anything. Have you looked at these?
Yeah,
Did you have any questions?
my first question is on page 15, item number 8.
Prior to commencing any activity at the site?
Yeah, it's 72 hours and then, again, I wasn't quite sure, we're looking for clarification on that, I guess.
72 hours in item 3 on page 15?
Yeah, page 15, paragraph 8, it's no other work shall commence until inspection has taken place. I don't know what that, well, I'm gonna notify, and then the inspection's in the 72 hours, or
So
there's
wait, so
inspection afterwards?
page 15, item 8.
I'm not on the right page, because
You're gonna get numbered up top. Switch, yeah.
well, number
Number 8, yeah.
And this is identical in all three. so.
And your question about number 8 is,
It's just, I wasn't sure if it's the inspection that takes place within the 72 hours, or is there
No,
an
the
inspection after the?
notification.
So I'm gonna notify, and then Chuck's gonna have an inspection to start work.
Right.
yeah,
And then that's an inspection that you're talking about. this
Right,
morning.
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and
I
we-
wasn't
and we
sure if
put
there
the
was
no fewer
another
than-
inspection after
No.
that.
no.
Okay, that was it on that one, so that was the same.
yeah.
And I think we talked about this last time on page 16, paragraph 15. We talked about the need for there to be a structure before I can as-built it.
Right, so that those foundation corners can just be verified that they
Yeah,
are,
this says that I have to submit an as-built prior to the structure being
Otherwise,
installed.
how do
He
we have
can't,
s-
no, he can't submit an as-built prior to
Construction.
construction.
Construction, right?
yeah, yeah,
We
of
corrected
the, of
that.
the foundation.
Yeah, we addressed
So
it
you want a
last time, it just
foundation
didn't get
survey.
addressed here.
Okay, so instead of an as-built plan, a foundation survey?
Foundation
No,
certification.
the as-built plan is fine, but what we want to say is that I submit an as-built after the installation of the structure.
Right.
When I
After
put
the
a foundation
construction
in,
of them.
I as-built it.
Right.
And then I give you a
Right.
plan.
Yeah,
Found,
So the
right,
as-built comes
foundation.
after the structure, not prior to the
Yeah.
structure.
Right.
Yeah.
well,
miss
can
out
we,
what
can
number
we
we
say,
Shall be submitted to commission after construction.
Prior.
You could probably use the word foundation.
Because we're basically looking for a foundation
Looking for a
as-built.
foundation.
Foundation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you can say an as-built must be submitted, immediately after the, foundation is installed and prior to the commencement of,
Correct.
frame.
Yeah.
building.
Yeah, I thought we clarified that last
Yeah,
time.
we talked about it, but it.
Yeah.
It didn't get changed.
That'd be good if you could do that, right?
Huh?
Here's the as-built, now I'm gonna build it.
Somewhere, sometime.
Okay. So just to sort of reiterate, make sure that we've got the right text here, because I think we're gonna modify it and sign it.
I'm not writing on this.
Yeah, okay, all right, then we'll, maybe we can pass it around after.
Okay.
We'll vote on it and maybe sign on it after
Yeah.
the meeting, circulate
You can purchase
the
and sell, you
revised,
can just initial
the
it.
ride. Sorry?
You can just change it and initial it and then sign the form. Like a purchase and
so-
sales agreement. Just hand write it in and then all you guys sign it and then initial the change.
After foundation installed and prior to
Framing.
framing, thank you. I was looking for the words. Okay, anything else?
Well, I'm all the way back to 21.
The next page, 17?
Yeah, no, 21.
Last
Page 21.
Oh, page 21?
Yeah. We've got a small issue with two things there.
What's that?
The $10,000, that's 10 per notice of intent, that's 30. I was wondering if that could be reduced, maybe down to 5,000 per notice of intent, so that would be a total of 15,000.
Well, what's the level of, what would be appropriate for the type of work that's gonna be performed on lot 2?
Not much, it's just, buffer zone, it's just hay bale, sill fence, and make sure that,
And grass and seed and,
the seed and, normal stuff. Yeah, it's nothing
What was the
big
bond
going
from
on there,
Bethune?
you know what I mean?
What was the bond from Bethune? For the
There
whole
wasn't
thing?
one, that was the discussion we had last time.
No.
The conservation bond was actually part of the
Right.
planning bond.
Planning.
yeah, and I
We just had a huge number on it, George had a huge number on it.
yeah.
But that was
yeah.
good, because we had that
Yeah.
detention pond.
Right, okay.
You know, I don't work in this business, I don't know.
Yeah,
I
it
don't
seems
know
to me there's
pricing.
almost no.
Yeah, I mean, I think
There's
it's-
no,
I think 5 per order is fine.
it's fine.
Yeah.
Seems reasonable.
Modify that.
And I think that's,
Even with the roadway?
Yes, especially with the roadway, because it's far out of the area, and it's got,
And the infiltration
The
and the
infiltration.
the wrap and the.
right, I mean, I think one of the things we all agreed is when you looked at the work that was going to be done, none of the work was really very close to the wetland.
Right,
So doing it at
that's the
5
issue.
apiece would seem to me to be
Yeah.
perfect.
I think, the only reason for the notice of intent for the roadway is just because the drainage structures
Right.
go
Yep.
into the
Right.
detention
Yep.
areas, but
Right.
So I think 5
all the
of,
physical work is outside the 100.
Yep.
yeah,
5 of,
5
order
per?
would be 5,
yeah.
okay?
Okay, that's good, so that addresses that, and do you guys ever actually, do you ever actually really hold it for 3 years? Just a question, I guess.
We have.
The only
withheld
time
it
we've
for
done
a
that
certain
is-
amount of time.
Well,
Whatever.
we've done it in those cases in which either there's a failure or where we have, a defect is discovered. I mean, we almost never do it. We usually issue it as soon as the order of conditions is met.
Okay.
But we have, that is in there simply because we've had situations. For example, when we do constructed wetlands,
Yeah,
okay, you really don't know until the second season whether the thing performed or not.
how often do you guys do that? Because we
We've
wanted
had-
to do the constructed wetland on Bethune.
We've
It
had
happens.
5 or 6 in town. Generally, there are areas where people have asked for permission to fill a wetland, in which case they've got to do a 2-to-1 replication.
Right.
There's an area right off Avon Street,
Yeah.
right behind the bagel joint,
Mm.
where basically they did filled a wetland and doubled the size of the constructed. We kept the bond, I think, for 2.5 years.
Until the constructed wetland
Right.
anyway.
Yeah, and it was, you know,
It was successful, right?
It was
Those things
successful.
work, yeah, well, I've done them a couple of times, they've been,
Yeah.
they've been good.
Hmm.
All right, so I think these are all, I don't know if
Wait,
you guys wanna just certify.
I'm just
them.
gonna
These are
make,
all
su-
identical.
I'm just gonna make sure anybody else, after review of the order of conditions, I mean, I've already read through the order of
Yeah,
conditions.
so have I.
Um, did you have any other comments or?
No.
No, I didn't even find any typos.
Okay, I move we issue an order of conditions for Lot 2 Sanborn Lane.
I think the
And-
roadway.
The-
first
The
one
lot
was-
two.
Well,
We're doing
doing
lot
Lot
two
2
I'm
first,
sorry,
yeah,
I'm sorry.
As amended.
as amended.
I'll second.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just keeping a little bit of notes. Okay, all those in favor? Okay,
Next is Lot 3.
next is lot 3.
Which
Yep.
probably has the same
Which is
issue.
very similar.
I have the same notes.
Probably the same issue on the number
Exactly.
15, page 15.
So are your comments the same as
Yeah,
from lot
yes,
2?
yes.
With no other
No.
comments?
No,
Yeah, so page 16, number 15 is the as-built comment.
Right. On page 16 is the as-built comment.
Yep. Number
Yeah.
50, item 15.
Item 15.
Yep, okay.
And then the
Just
bond
use the
is,
same language right underneath it.
right,
And then the bond.
Yeah.
we'll use
Okay.
the same language.
Okay.
Okay. There a motion?
Move we issue an order of conditions for Lot 3 Sanborn Lane as amended.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Okay.
Okay.
And the same, obviously, for the subdivision roadway. Same set of issues.
However,
Yes.
there's no foundation on the
foundation.
roadway
Foundation,
technically.
so that
Yeah.
whole
Technically.
15 should be struck, probably.
So we're gonna need an as-built for the roadway, but that's separate.
Right.
So,
So 15 should be struck, I think, because there's no foundationing or structure.
yeah, I mean, all structures including decks.
No. I think 15 is just struck.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I don't see why not.
It's all, the whole roadway's out of the way, so.
Right.
You know, I have to as-built it, of course, but that's for.
Well, I don't know, I mean,
Yeah. That's the engineering.
let's see.
Yeah, it's clear that that's for the building.
That's for
That's for a building, not a,
Not a roadway.
Okay, but what part of what's covered here for the subdivision roadway is the description of the infiltration basin and the.
Yeah, it's back here. There's a whole
You
section.
know, so, and part of what this says is, shall be located no closer to the resource area and within the approved development envelope than what is indicated on the approved plan.
But they're talking about
Again, that's for
foundation.
house.
They're talking about
That's for foundation.
foundations, but what
No,
do you
no.
think about putting the same stipulation on the outfall,
Because what
rock
is-
and infiltration?
So where was infiltration covered?
but the infiltration is covered separately.
Page 19.
Page
Page
9.
19. Beginning with destruction of each stormwater management system, that's all the description.
That's management and maintenance, that's not construction of it. Item 15 talks about,
Well, how would you want to word 15?
if I were to, would be, what are you gonna call it, all infiltration and, all stormwater management
Structures.
how's that? And cross off including decks.
Shall be what?
All stormwater shall be located no closer to the resource area and within the approved development envelope as what is indicated on the approved plan.
And then strike the rest?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
approve the order of conditions for subdivision roadway as amended.
Second.
Second, all those in favor?
Okay. Let's go sign things.
Okay.
Bill, it's been a pleasure. Been the voice of reason.
Only on a good day.
Most of the time, most of the time.
Yeah, don't give me too much credit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
Need any boulders? I got some big boulders I'm trying to get rid of. I know that's
You do?
that's saying something in Reading, right?
Do you really?
I have a ton. Yeah, I have probably. They're probably 2 by 3 by. I probably have like 5 or 6 of them.
Talk to me.
Seriously?
Seriously.
Oh, I know what you want them for. So people don't drive up in your lawn.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm serious.
I
I'm
am serious.
I was gonna tell the call Mr. Lynch, he'll crush him up.
Really?
Crush stone, yeah.
Well, if you can't use them, then
You got an
call
option.
him. Yeah.
Well, it's gonna cost you to get him over the house, you know.
That's the thing, right? We
Put
have
that on, look
to
at him.
truck them over.
Having a
Backhoe, put him on
car
low bed.
run a stop sign in the middle of the night and hit my gas line will cost my house as well.
A little
So-
more, right?
So,
Be sure they're on your property, not the easement.
yeah,
George won't like him on the easement.
yeah. I don't think
Take
I.
care.
I'll
Good luck
keep
with
that
the
in mind,
meeting.
though,
How's it
if,
doing?
If it
It's
doesn't
doing
work.
good. I go Friday, and if the infection's dead, then I can schedule a new meeting.
I hope so.
Great.
You ever can?
Good luck with it.
I'm getting sick of hobbling around this. I got a new appreciation for that guy with the one
Oh,
night.
he's going through a lot.
I can't, you know, I've only been doing this 5 weeks and I'm ready to
He's-
shoot myself. I
he's
couldn't imagine
going-
having to deal with this.
Yeah, he's-
It's 2 more.
I would,
Alright.
yeah.
I mean,
All right, thank you
It's
guys.
all backed up
All
here.
right.
We'll see you soon. Chuck will have that ready and then I'll run down and record it. That's the procedure.
Have it ready. We're gonna have to circulate it behind the scene. Well, no, we're signing it. We'll just change the attachment based on
Okay.
the edits.
Right, because
Okay.
nothing on this page is.
Right, because nothing on what we're signing is being edited tonight.
Okay.
Does that follow?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I'll pick it up with him and record it. Thanks, guys.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Ken, take care of that cold, huh? That cold or allergies?
Is it a cold?
I don't know what it is, it just hit me today. No idea.
Well, whatever's blooming today is
Yeah.
seriously blooming.
Yeah.
My wife, who's not allergic to anything except me, seems to be,
Oh, good, I thought it was a cold.
yeah, the pine pollen's been bothering me, and I'm not allergic to anything as far as I know. It's very heavy this year.
Yeah.
not only is it very heavy, but it's all coming at once.
Yeah, it looked like a dust storm up on Sanborn Hill.
I have
Oh, yeah.
a kayak
Pretty
I'm trying to
serious.
sell. I'm gonna take it up to Sports Foots, who's,
Oh, it's-
you know,
yeah.
Play It Again Sports.
Yeah.
And it's not a great kayak, it's an old Walden paddler. And,
No, yeah, I'm done.
to make a long story short, it is now a yellow and green Walden paddler, because, you
Yeah.
know, I washed it the other day,
Oh, it doesn't take,
but, you know.
take much.
I know somebody was,
Just takes a half day.
somebody was looking at yard sales.
It's a 3-seater, it's got 2 adult seats and a child seat, so it's actually a reasonable family kayak.
Okay, sign.
It's not fiberglass, but it's pretty comfortable, and I've got paddles and a car carrying outfit. So if somebody's if you hear of anybody who's interested.
It's not fiberglass? What is it? Is it wood?
No, it's polypropylene or polyethylene.
Oh, right. Yep.
Okay, so.
Yeah, yeah.
Sanborn. Where's Sanborn?
And it,
Usually people don't know the difference. I'm
Right.
forgetting.
and it certainly takes somebody my size. If you put the one seat in the middle, like somebody my size, it'll get
Yeah,
easily.
right.
It's good size. I think it's at least 14 and maybe 16 feet.
Yeah, probably would be almost 16 for,
Just trying to keep everything together.
Okay,
Chuck.
move
Is
we,
there sorry, is there a stapler somewhere I can?
So right here.
yes,
Thanks.
there you go.
That's good, thanks.
2 staplers.
Oh, one that works.
One that has staples.
One that works.
so we don't need to, let's see.
That.
All we need to do in Cumberland Farms, it seems to me, is sign the order of conditions.
That-
seems-
oh, has it been
that
voted
seems
on?
right.
Yeah, we voted on it last week.
Okay, just right
Did
here,
we?
this is the original.
Wait, before,
I believe that's what it says in the minutes.
did we close out? Did we close out Sanborn Lane?
I believe we closed
We
the
did
hearing.
close it.
Yeah,
We
because-
closed each of the hearings. Yeah, we did. Right.
All right, I'm gonna sign this.
Whoop. Just trying to keep some of these papers straight. Okay, so Cumberland Farms, and you all have,
I believe we voted on it
Yeah.
last week, so it's just a question of signatures.
oh, okay. All
I
right,
have
so
faith
this
in my
is a
commission,
copy.
I'll sign.
Kim, you have it?
And boy, I sure wish there was a fence at the Route 62 Plaza in North Reading, because the amount of trash that gets into the river is just horrendous.
In Route 62 Plaza in
It's on
North Reading.
Park Street, it's,
Yeah.
as you're going east past the old library, you cross the bridge over the Ipswich on the left, it's like a strip mall.
Oh, yes.
The liquor store, I know.
Yep.
And they had an order of condition, because there's a silt fence halfway down the bank.
Right.
They put in a new, bumper, with a wooden rail,
Good.
and trash just
Okay, additions.
blows off there. They don't clean the parking lot very often.
So it's the one on the corner,
Yeah.
on the Reading's corner, the Reading side of the corner. It's in North Reading though, because it's over the bridge.
Well, no, this is an old North Reading Center
Oh,
Okay.
on Route 62.
oh, on Route 62.
I think it's, it is.
All right. I want to
I know what you're talking about.
I want to get us back, I want to try and get through this old new business as quickly as possible.
All right, let's go.
So, did we vote on issuing the order of conditions for Cumberland Farms? You said we voted at the last
I
meeting?
believe that's what it says in the
In
minute.
the notes, it doesn't say that you voted on.
Why don't we just vote just in case?
Move we issue an order of conditions for Cumberland Farms.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor? Okay, and we have closed it already,
Mhm.
okay.
What's this Harold Ave?
Okay,
think
what am I
we're
gonna
done.
get
Oh, COC.
to? Yeah, no, I'm gonna go back to, alright, let's deal with Harold Ave. Harold Ave, okay, the issue with Harold
Conservation.
Ave is, they finalized the, conservation restriction.
Yeah.
And now that that got finalized, they wanted to put together the paperwork for issuing
Certificate of
a
compliance.
certificate of compliance for it. And
Oh, for the property?
for the property.
Oh.
So because that was the outstanding issue. So what Chuck told me is that COC is not complete, certificate of
Right.
compliance is not complete. He needs more paperwork from, Mr. Latham. And we're gonna take care of signing it at the next meeting.
It's not in the file.
It's
so
not
we
there.
can't anyway.
Can't do it, can't do anything about that.
Okay?
Oh.
Okay. I'm gonna jump up to, Friends and well, why don't you tell me what you're doing? Are you going with?
I'm going in order, but Friends and
okay.
Family Day is way up in the front, so.
Yeah, well, let's
do
talk
that.
about Friends and Family Day. So, the setup's at 9, it's Saturday, June 14th at Birch Meadow. Setup's at 9, officially goes from 11 to 3.
Set up, you can get there at 10.
I'm sure, I don't, yeah.
Even after.
If I'm there early because my kids are racing in
Yeah.
a race, then we had a tent last year. Does anybody remember?
That came from John Feudo.
Yeah, that was
They already set them up. They're already
recreation sets
preset.
them up.
Okay.
It does specify here tented tables, so
Yep,
I'm hoping they have an.
So you'll get
Did
one.
does John Feudo also supply the table?
Yeah, I thought he supplied everything.
Yeah, they did
There's some
last-
stuff that we bring and we set up at the table,
I
like
saw-
our recreation sign.
But I saw an email that said,
Yeah.
make sure you
Not
bring.
recreation,
Yeah,
conservation.
Make sure
they
you bring
provide the
tables.
table and the tent.
Right. What you need is
And if
the,
they don't, it's
is
too
the
bad.
Conservation Commission banner
Yeah,
for the front of the table.
I'll get that from Chuck tomorrow probably.
And I've got a, some kind of display board that Kim has prepared that I'll bring over.
Okay, great.
I forget
Are you
who
gonna
it-
bring the turtle or is that going to the trails?
Trails is not being that we're not there.
Not representing. So can we
So-
have the turtle at our?
Yeah, you can have the turtle.
I unfortunately.
Purely selfish
Can
reasons.
he come
I'm
out and
asking.
play?
Can you get the turtle?
I unfortunately can't make it this time. My wife
Okay.
has a concussion. She fell and hit a concrete bird bath
Yeah,
2 weeks ago.
sorry.
Oh, God.
Sorry.
And she's, fortunately didn't fracture anything. CT'd her neck and her head. Spent some time in Leahy, although they didn't keep her, thankfully. And she's, very
Okay.
slowly recovering.
Yeah.
Well, I hope she feels better
she'll-
soon.
There's marginal improvement, not enough for her, but that's a different question.
Yeah. Sorry to hear that. Please tell her we wish
I
her
will.
speedy recovery.
Will.
And so now we're talking about like 11 to 3. Bill's not available. I'll put out emails to Jamie, see if he happens to be available. I can be there for setup until noon.
I'll be there from 10:30.
12:30.
That's what I'll do. I'll be there from 10:30 to 12:30. I have to get mulch in the afternoon.
Okay.
So it sounds like I should come at 12:30 or noon. I mean, I can bring the turtle, but I may not stay at that point.
Yeah. So
I mean,
I think Terry's at. I think Terry's in Colorado.
Yeah.
For an extended. I don't know if he's going to be back by Saturday. So
What time does it go till? 3?
3.
Yeah, I can't stay that. I might be able to stay till 1 or 1. I could probably stay till 1:30 if I have to.
Well,
yeah.
if you can do that, I might set up and then come back and spell you. If an emergency, if we can't find enough people to be there, then at least it's you to begin, and I'll pick it up, and it's bring your own chair and.
Yep, I'll do that. I'm gonna bring my daughter too. this
Great.
year. She's gonna be there. That's
Great.
why I can't help set up.
Great. Okay, so Brian, you'll be there 10:30 to 1. You're saying?
Yeah,
What
yeah,
was the
that's
last
fine.
time
That's
you're-
fine. Yeah, yep,
Okay,
that's fine.
thank you.
And I'll say 12:30 to. I don't know.
1:30?
I feel like I've got something else going on.
And then you're gonna come back?
Well, why don't you say tentatively, and then I'll send an email to
Well,
confirm tomorrow
So
morning.
who's gonna be there? I mean, from 2 to 3 or?
I can.
Or
At this point, I'm pretty sure I don't have anything
Yeah.
else going on Saturday, so I can probably be
Good.
there at 1:15 until hopefully until the end.
Yeah, I may be able
So,
to do that.
That's
I got our daughter's coming home from Ohio, but she's going to be at a reunion event at Phillips Academy, I think. So
okay.
probably.
Yeah,
won't see
I mean,
her.
if you can, great. If you're not, I want to see that turtle there. You
don't have to come,
You don't
just bring
have
the
to. Well, it's
Just
a
send your turtle.
draw. It's such a draw
It
for
is
people.
really. It is.
Yeah, and
see that
he's
turtle.
eating like crazy now, so
Yeah.
that's
yeah.
entertaining.
Yeah.
I don't have
That's a riot.
salamanders at home to bring.
That's all right.
So,
No.
consider that. Why don't you? I'll send an email blast out to commission members tomorrow morning to see if there's anybody else interested in or
Yeah.
available. I won't bother you with that email chain.
You can send it to me. I'll just, what my answer will be.
Yeah.
I don't mind being on the email chain.
Okay. I'm just writing myself a note because I know I'm not going to remember. Okay, and theme or ideas, or what do you guys think would be a good sort of thing to say? Well, let me just say I met with Kim H. Today and asked her if she happened to have already pre-prepared a map of the town with the wetlands and our 100-foot setback from that. Some sort of map of the town that says what the jurisdictional area is. And she emailed it to me. She said she could mount it. So I'm really, really grateful to her for that.
Great.
She also sent me an email because I asked
Do you
her
have a
about the
large format plotter?
statistics.
The town has a large format plotter.
maybe, there's a lot of equipment that's big in her
Well,
office.
Oh, maybe down in
It's
engineering,
possible.
yeah.
Yeah,
I was gonna
uses-
say, otherwise I
Um,
can plot it at work.
She uses
Yeah,
engineering.
otherwise I could take the file and
Yeah, she does
take it over
boards.
Oh, okay.
to
Great.
Staples or something. But
Great.
also I asked her about general statistics. I think I've been throwing around numbers that are inaccurate about what percentage of land is under our jurisdiction. You know, but I just wanna,
Yeah.
there's talking points I wanna have, and I think these maps she makes could be really great
Yeah.
places to, because everyone, to see where people are relative to jurisdictional area. I think that would be part of, you know, getting the word out about what conservation is doing and what we're about, so. Okay.
Yeah, one point
Me
I've
too.
been meaning to make is, you know, people complaining about water and flooding and all the wetlands. And I just say, just be glad you're not in the desert Southwest, where there's no water.
And
it's
it's-
a
everything's on
huge
fire.
problem. Yeah,
Hard
everything's
demand,
on fire, yeah.
Hard demand.
They
Yeah.
don't realize how good
Yeah.
they got it.
Yeah.
You put up with a few mosquitoes.
Yeah. Bond for Austin Prep.
Did I skip something? What's going on?
I didn't understand.
There was an email.
Bond for Austin Prep. Let's see, Chuck was saying. There's a change of wording that's proposed. Change of wording that's proposed on the security transmittal form. Did you guys see it? So the amount of $20,000 from Austin Preparatory School to hold as a security for the proper performance of the requirements of the order of conditions issued by conservation under the Reading bylaws for the project, and here's where the edit comes, and $10,000 to hold as surety for providing as-built plans per site plan review decision by Planning and Community Planning and Development Commission dated May 19. I think there was a slight concern, and then some of the text changed down below. I think there was a slight concern by Chuck that he wasn't sure if the text edits raises a possibility of weakening.
Being tied.
Being tied, yeah. And if that's the same as what I was emailed, I didn't see the weakness in the language, so feel free to read it yourself. We'll send it around.
I mean, I'm not an attorney, but I think all this is a transmittal that sends the money over in one check and says, this much is allocated to conservation, this much is allocated to CPDC, and he cites the bylaws in there, so. I don't see why that would.
Yeah, I think if anything,
It's just so they
it
didn't have to write
makes
2
it
checks.
more-
and-
But I think if anything, it makes it more difficult for them to get the bond released
I don't know.
or issued.
I don't know. I
But-
think it's just a transmittal form, and it's just sending the money over.
Right, I wouldn't see it as a
Yeah.
problem.
Do you wanna
I
see
mean,
it, Will?
It doesn't appear to me to be an issue.
It's not, it doesn't materially change anything in either of the orders.
Right.
It's just a transmittal form.
Yep.
And it doesn't have the power to change anything in the
Right,
form.
right.
So what power does it, what is the
Right.
purpose
All-
of that then?
Just giving
The
money.
purpose of that is to get the money transferred in one check rather than 2.
Yeah, just giving money.
So that's a bank paper?
Well,
In effect,
yeah.
it's a transmittal letter.
Yeah. Yeah, here, we're giving you a check, and this is what it's for.
Right.
Okay.
And the problem is, it can't modify the order of conditions, because in order to do that, we'd have to vote on it.
That's right.
It's just a transmittal letter.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's non-issue.
Okay,
Yeah, I think it's fine.
okay. Okay, then I'll just put that back in.
And Anika,
Austin Prep?
Will does have a copy of the email I sent, because he did get it. And I unfortunately have purged mine, but what we'll do is Will send me it back. And what I will do is print it and have both my wife and I attest to it and give it to Chuck.
Okay, and let me just comment, so that's about 364
Yes,
Lowell
yes.
Street. Yeah, yeah, good. I want to make sure that that's on
Right.
record. And have you moved forward, we're jumping around on the agenda, Kim, I'm sorry. This is about 364 Lowell Street. Have you moved forward with your application to NHESP
Yes,
about that?
I mailed it last Friday.
You mailed it? Okay.
Great.
And
Can you get a
they-
copy of that
I've got
to-
a copy here.
to Chuck? So,
Yeah, I can give him a copy.
great. And
It
you
in-
can add your notes to that and we'll,
Right.
So it in-
What I'll do is we'll sign it both, date it,
okay.
and make
So it-
sure a copy gets to Chuck.
It includes a
Okay.
color USGS map, aerial photo, a photo of the frog that Chuck found, a subdivision. Well, actually, it's like a lot plan that I got off the town website, and it has a copy of their subdivision plan showing the wetland flags in question
Okay,
and the whole form filled out, the
Yeah.
the GPS coordinates.
that's great, that's great. If you could just get a copy of that to Chuck so that it's in the official town's
Yeah.
paperwork, so we can
And I'll have a list
reference
of
it later.
list
Okay.
of all the other documents.
Cool. Okay, just to sort of go back to the agenda, the minor projects for 1189 Main Street.
So
Sure.
it's a retaining wall, it's a short retaining wall extension. It appears to be under 4 feet, but I question, actually it might be 4 feet. I actually question, it's these houses that were built.
Yes,
on Main Street.
on Main Street, those 3 houses.
The 3 houses that were built,
Oh,
in
so
place
this
of the
is
one.
the north one?
Now, this is
The middle one.
The middle one's already done.
Right, but this is for the minor project to extend this wall here, and here. You're saying the wall's already done?
I think
If you're
it
talking
is.
about the middle house,
I think it is
it's all
already
done.
done.
Oh, all right,
I
well.
went by
think
one
it
day
is
and there's
already
this huge
done.
pile of loam in the driveway.
Yeah, I
What the hell
know.
are they doing?
But I
Next
need,
time I came by, all the new retaining walls, and it's like a big turnaround
Yep.
area.
if that's the case, then I need to know why it's a minor project, because it's outside of the 100-foot buffer zone.
Well, this is the 100-foot buffer. So this.
Oh,
this,
that one
this,
is in there.
This one
Ah, right. They're doing the back one as well. That's right.
Okay.
I
Okay.
apologize. Yeah.
Wait, no, this is a different house that I'm talking about.
No, this is
1198.
1198.
That's the middle one.
So that's the middle one that's on that plan? Oh, okay, yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that
This
So
says-
so it is.
But this
it
said
is in the-
1189, but I think that's maybe a typo.
It was transposed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Move we approve a minor plan change at 1198.
Yeah. That's what
Okay.
the mailbox said.
Or minor project.
Minor project.
Minor project,
Yeah.
sorry.
Minor project. Yeah.
Move we approve a minor project
Is
at
there a second?
1189.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Okay.
I'm no Chuck, but I get by.
That's great. Now Dean Road. Oh, yeah. Right here.
Here's for you.
Thank you, sir.
And this is for me.
Okay. Okay, so what's happening at Dean Road? Oh, okay, there's a project where, Chuck got the sense that this was kind of one of these really ideal, minor projects that, here is the cul-de-sac, and it's a build out, and the closest distance to the building is 185 feet from the river and 112 feet from the wetland,
Classic.
edge of
Yeah,
wetlands.
You can't get
So
any further out than
it's kind of a perfect ideal case of a minor project,
Yeah.
so let's ratify it as such, and they're willing to put in erosion control. So,
We approve a minor project at 20 Dean Road.
okay. Is there a
I'll
second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. This is gonna make the minutes easy, Kim, because we've got a whole pattern here of how people are
Bill
voting.
moves, I second.
Right, it's good. Let's put that back. I talk to myself all the time.
It's all right. We all do.
Alright.
Just some of us do it quieter than others.
And
Thanks.
some of us
Thanks.
talk back to ourselves.
Yeah.
Right.
Guilty. Guilty. Okay, so, let's see, item 9, the railroad, vegetation control program.
Right.
We don't have anything to really vote on about this.
It's
I
just
wanted to-
informational.
It's
It's a
informational. For full disclosure, I myself called the engineer, the Kyle Fair of Tech Associates, because one of the things I got from the last wetland conference were EPA-approved organic herbicides.
Mhm.
And I just wanted to talk to him about whether or not some of that was considered or doable. The interesting thing I want to emphasize about this plan is they consider a no spray area, the area up to 10 feet of a wetland and 10 feet of a certified vernal pool.
Oh.
Up to 10 feet of the mean annual high water line of any river. And up to 50 feet from any private identified.
Unfortunately, I think
Wow.
if it was any greater than 10 feet, they'd be off the right of way.
Exactly.
That's where all the wetlands are.
Exactly.
Next to the right of way.
Exactly. And their application technique, they said, is foliar, which I wasn't familiar with. That's applying herbicides directly to a plant's leaves via backpack, but they said a boom sprayer.
Yeah.
And they said they would capture drips with this underneath catch
That's interesting.
thing. And they said it's ideal when plants are growing and flowering. There's no rain and minimal wind. So
Yeah.
hopefully they know when to do it. I
It's like-
still want to have that discussion with this person about the type of products they're using. Because if they can switch over to something a little bit environmentally friendly in our backyard, I think that would be a benefit. So,
Most of it's glyphosate.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to go, the next item on the old new business I have as Open Conservation Commission seats discussion. I just want to let the commission know that I've been having a series of meetings over the last 2 weeks with members of Town Hall. Specifically, I met with Bob LeLacheur last week. And I met with Jeff Zager this week, today, and I'm going to meet with Jean Delios on Monday, to just basically, since we've got a wonderful connection with the town who might be departing,
Might be.
I'm stirring it up?
I'm going.
That's
Okay.
it. As soon as you hit that gavel, he's gone.
I know, that's why I'm dragging it up. I'm chair. I want to try to establish some connections with people and
Good
get
idea.
some communication going. So I've met with those people. I've emphasized to them that I would much rather talk about things before a meeting and get things, whatever can be resolved ahead of time, resolved and understood, instead of having during meeting bad mouthing or complaining or anything else happening. I'd like to improve that communication if possible. Also, I gave Bob LeLacheur a little write-up, because he suggested I do this, to get additional members on the Conservation Commission. He said he wanted basically a job wanted write-up. So I took what Chuck had given to Laura in terms of a summary of what we're looking for as an applicant, and what positions were available, 2 associate memberships, and and 2 full-time
2 full-time. Yeah.
members. And so it sounds like, so I've given them that text. Hopefully they can get the word out. That I've heard that has the selectmen's attention as well. So I just wanted to share with you communications I've been having. 2 bills. I'm gonna get to the bills, not this bill, but the other bills.
That's what, I'm one of the unpaid bills.
Okay, there should be something in here on
Conservation Commission
bills,
membership.
bills approved. There's a water and sewer, for Pearl Street. Here it is, water and sewer for, let's get it done by July 15, so we don't owe the town an additional $2, for $16.51.
Will we approve a bill for $16.51 at the water and sewer on Pearl Street?
Okay, that's, a vote, a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All those approved? In favor? Thank you.
Right.
And the MACC dues,
Will we pay the MACC dues in the amount of $690?
$690. Yep. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Okay, opposed, none? Okay, and just a comment about these MACC dues. This is a fixed fee regardless of our membership count.
Right.
Okay.
So the fee, if anybody asks us about our finances and that particular fee, that fee is fixed regardless of how many people sit here. And there are some names on here of people I haven't seen in a while.
Yeah.
So we'll just update that as we
Okay.
get to it. So those two bills have been approved. Okay.
We got minutes?
I just want to go over the donation from Sam Rhoda.
Right here.
Upon the completion, he took the residual, he had a very nice little thank you note for Chuck. He took the leftover funds of $22.47 and they got deposited into a Conservation Trust Gifts Donations Fund. The sum total of which is $22.47 at this point. So with his donation, that fund is off and running.
Very good.
And there it is.
Nice thank you note here.
Thank you to Sam for contributing that money to a fund for the conservation's
Looks like a
discretion.
handmade thank you note too. Very
Yeah.
nice.
I came up with a trails meeting last night
Bills
too.
approved. Don't want to mess with that too much.
Any money that scouts have left over from fundraising goes, is supposed to
Okay.
go to the town somehow.
And
Are we gonna-
minutes.
We gonna do these or?
Minutes.
I
Anybody
wasn't
got
here. Oh no, I was here.
minutes?
That's right, I was
I've
here.
I've already looked at those. Did Chuck leave those out?
Yep, these are his, these are.
Those are his?
these are
Okay.
mine.
Any comments about the minutes? There were a couple places that Chuck had question marks. That,
I got it.
do you wanna see those, Will? Did you have a chance to?
No.
No, not in these, he doesn't. He doesn't have question marks here.
He
Oh, right here.
did on
306 Main Street.
306 Main. There was no hearing for that. Maybe we should make a motion to close that hearing, because did we even see?
Applicant has withdrawn
even
project
see
to
that?
develop bare
No,
hazardous waste
We
site.
did, he came to discuss the issue.
I don't remember.
I don't remember,
Did we get a notice of intent for that?
I
But
don't-
there's a notice of intent number.
Yeah, it should.
Yeah,
well
we
then,
did.
the question is if he withdraws it, do we have to close the hearing?
Well, I don't know that we did we open the hearing?
If we have a number, we open to hearing.
We can,
Not
No,
necessarily.
he filed it, that's what that means.
Why don't, for
Oh.
procedural matters, why don't we just close
Close
it
it.
just
I'll
in
move
case
to
it's,
close without prejudice.
Right.
The,
Seconded.
okay,
306 Main Street.
okay, all those in favor? Okay, all unanimous.
It still doesn't resolve what happened on that night in the minutes.
We never
didn't do it.
officially opened it
It was
that
an
night.
informal
It was not
discussion.
opened,
It was
there
an-
was,
right.
it was an informal, it was an announcement by the chair to let the
Right.
public and
Right.
Yeah.
the formal record know that that applicant withdrew the permit.
So then, all right, so then this needs to be stricken from the record, this motion accepted and made by.
Yes,
yeah,
that
this
whole.
here, from the minutes,
Yeah,
right.
that has to go
Okay.
out. And since this is the copy that's gonna get.
Yep.
Anything else? That you see?
It looks like that there's no other question marks.
Okay, okay, so the minutes have been revised. Is there a motion to,
Move we approve the minutes as amended.
okay?
Second.
Second, all those in favor? Okay. All right, any other business?
I did want to say that it's been a pleasure.
Well,
Most of the time. There's been an occasional moment or two when it wasn't a pleasure, but then, you know, that happens in even the best of run lives.
all right, well, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry to see you go. I wish you could stay longer, but everybody's gotta retire at some point apparently, so. It's been a pleasure serving with you.
Well, thank you. I've learned a lot, and it's a good thing, and I would recommend it to anybody who's interested in actually benefiting the town, because I think frankly what we do benefits the whole town for a long period of time.
Whether they believe it or not.
Well, and it is very clear from some of the things I've seen over the last 11 years that there are parts of town which would be much better off had these regulations been promulgated 100 years ago or even 50 years ago. You know, there just are areas that are perpetually in distress, largely by flooding, that wouldn't be distressed if the regs had been written in the 60s.
Yep.
As opposed to in the 70s and not really enforced until the 80s. So.
Yep, I agree. Well, I thank you for your service to the town and your, you know, your very valuable input, you know, at every meeting, and you know, we're gonna miss you.
And I'm going to do a grand paper purge.
Okay.
Yeah, we've learned a lot from the way you run meetings, the way you comment. You know, it's very helpful for the public. So we're gonna miss that, but hopefully we can emulate your style a little bit, continue the education process.
Yeah, I think one of the challenges really is we so often have, as we did tonight, only a small opportunity to sort of, and if you don't take that opportunity to give somebody a chance to be educated, we're not likely to see anybody from the area around 37 again. You know, they may come back for the second hearing, but that's about it.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important in that, you know, you just see it on Plymouth Road. The people on Plymouth Road have become attuned to the issues and, you know, really hung in there. And largely because I think they were concerned to start out with, but the commission really gave them a chance to not only interact, but to make comments and understand.
Have a voice.
Yeah, and that I think is one of the other important things, that all too often we turn out people who have a planning issue or something else, but at least they have a chance to be directed to planning. It's been a pleasure. I wouldn't have missed it for the world, but it, as I said to Jamie a couple of months ago, I've gotten to the point where I'm beginning to get grumpy. When I first joined the commission, one of our, and I can't remember his name, Will, maybe you will, it's a former Navy guy.
Oh, yeah. Larry Goulet.
Larry Goulet, and at one point, Larry absolutely practically jumped down somebody's throat. And then at the next meeting, he said, "It's time for me to quit."
Oh, yeah.
Middle of a term, and it was not a good time, but I don't want to get that way. So thank you all, appreciate it. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
I recapture my Wednesday nights.
More
For
than
the
that.
first time in a long time.
More than that. And again, we wish you the best, and maybe
I will.
you know, keep in touch.
I will occasionally tune in, and if you know.
But feel free to email.
I will.
Me.
I will. I'll email the commission and say.
Yeah.
Take me off your list.
Take me off the list. Right.
Great, thanks again.
All right, is there a motion to
Move
adjourn?
we adjourn.
All right, well, those seconds. All right, yep. All
Let's
in
go.
favor. All right.